Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Viktor Frankl. Introduction. Chapter 1. The Modern Mind in Crisis. Picture this. It's 7:30 a.m., and Sarah's alarm pierces through her restless sleep. Before her feet even touch the floor, her mind is already racing. Check the phone, scroll through notifications, worry about the presentation at work, remember the argument with her partner last night, feel her heart rate spike as stress hormones flood her system. Sound familiar? If you're nodding along, you're not alone. You're part of the 77% of people who regularly experience physical symptoms caused by stress, according to the American Psychological Association. But here's what's fascinating and hopeful about our current predicament. Your brain, the very organ that seems to be working against you in these moments, is also your greatest ally in finding lasting peace. Welcome to the Neurobiology of Calm, Rewiring Your Brain for Lasting Peace. I'm your guide on this journey into the most exciting frontier of neuroscience, the discovery that our brains are not fixed, rigid machines, but incredibly adaptable, changeable networks that we can literally rewire for greater calm, resilience, and peace. Over the next several hours, we're going to explore a revolutionary understanding that's emerging from laboratories around the world. We'll discover how your brain creates the experience of calm, why modern life hijacks these natural systems, and most importantly, how you can take back control through scientifically proven methods that literally change your brain's structure and function. This isn't just theory. Recent research from 2024, including groundbreaking studies on neuroplasticity and meditation, has shown that mindfulness practices can increase cortical thickness, reduce amygdala reactivity, and improve brain connectivity in ways that lead to lasting emotional regulation and stress resilience. We're living in an unprecedented time where ancient wisdom meets cutting-edge neuroscience, and the results are nothing short of extraordinary. But before we dive into the solutions, we need to understand the problem. Why does your brain seem programmed for anxiety rather than peace? Why do you lie awake at 3 a.m. replaying conversations from 5 years ago? Why does your mind automatically assume the worst-case scenario? The answer lies in evolution, but the solution lies in revolution, a revolution in our understanding of how the brain works and how we can work with it, rather than against it. Blank. Chapter 2. The Anxious Brain, Understanding Your Default Mode. Let me tell you about Marcus, a 34-year-old software engineer who came to understand his brain in a completely new way. Marcus spent most of his days in a state of what he called productive anxiety, constantly anticipating problems, rehearsing worst-case scenarios, and feeling like his mind was a browser with 47 tabs open, all playing different videos at the same time. Marcus's experience isn't unique. It's the result of what neuroscientists call the default mode network, a network of brain regions that becomes active when we're not focused on a specific task. Think of it as your brain's screensaver, but instead of showing peaceful images, it's running a highlight reel of your biggest worries, regrets, and fears. This network includes 3 key players: the medial prefrontal cortex, which is like your brain's rumination center; the posterior cingulate cortex, which processes self-referential thoughts; and the angular gyrus, which helps create the narrative story of you. When these regions work together harmoniously, they help us reflect, plan, and understand ourselves. But when they become overactive or stuck in negative patterns, they create what researchers call the anxious mind. Dr. Judson Brewer, a neuroscientist at Brown University, describes this as being lost in thought, and his brain imaging studies show that people who report being unhappy spend significantly more time in this default mode network activity compared to those who report greater well-being. But here's where the story gets interesting. Your brain didn't evolve to make you happy or peaceful. It evolved to keep you alive. And for most of human history, the biggest threats to survival were immediate, physical, and obvious: predators, natural disasters, rival tribes. Your brain developed an incredibly sophisticated threat detection system that we call the amygdala, 2 almond-shaped clusters of neurons that act like the brain's smoke detector. The problem is that your amygdala can't tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and a critical email from your boss. Both trigger the same ancient alarm system, flooding your body with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, increasing your heart rate, tensing your muscles, and shifting your brain into survival mode. This is what we call the negativity bias, your brain's tendency to pay more attention to, process more thoroughly, and remember more clearly negative experiences compared to positive ones. Research by Dr. Rick Hansen shows that negative experiences stick to our minds like Velcro, while positive experiences slide off like Teflon. Think about it. How long do you spend thinking about a compliment versus a criticism? Most people will replay a single critical comment for days or weeks, while a dozen compliments barely register. This isn't a character flaw, it's a survival feature that's outlived its usefulness. The amygdala processes emotional information about 12 milliseconds before it reaches your conscious awareness. That means you're feeling afraid, angry, or anxious before you even know why. Your rational, thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex, comes online second, often struggling to make sense of emotions that are already in full swing. Dr. Joseph Ledoux, a leading expert in fear conditioning, describes this as the difference between the low road and the high road of emotional processing. The low road is fast, automatic, and often inaccurate. The high road is slower, more accurate, but often arrives too late to prevent an emotional hijacking. This creates what I call the anxiety loop. A trigger activates your amygdala, which floods your system with stress hormones, which creates physical sensations of anxiety, which your thinking mind interprets as evidence that something is wrong, which creates more anxious thoughts, which triggers more amygdala activation, and round it goes. Marcus described it perfectly. It's like my brain is a smoke detector that goes off every time I burn toast, except the toast is every email, every social interaction, every decision I need to make. But understanding this system is the first step to changing it, because while your brain comes with these default settings, they're not permanent. The most exciting discovery in neuroscience over the past 2 decades is neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize, adapt, and literally rewire itself throughout your entire lifetime. The neurons that fire together, wire together. This means that every time you practice anxiety, you're strengthening anxiety pathways. But it also means that every time you practice calm, you're strengthening calm pathways. The question isn't whether your brain can change, it's changing all the time. The question is, what are you training it to become? Blank, _, blank. Chapter 3. The Science of Neuroplasticity, Your Brain's Superpower. In 1998, a Swedish neuroscientist named Peter Eriksson made a discovery that would revolutionize our understanding of the human brain. While studying the brains of deceased cancer patients who had been injected with a chemical marker, he found something extraordinary: new neurons in the hippocampus, the brain's memory center. For the first time in history, we had definitive proof that the adult human brain could grow new brain cells. This discovery shattered one of neuroscience's most fundamental assumptions, that we're born with all the brain cells we'll ever have, and that brain damage is permanent. It opened the door to understanding neuroplasticity, the brain's remarkable ability to reorganize, adapt, and physically change throughout our entire lives. Let me share the story of Jill Bolt Taylor, a neuroanatomist who experienced this plasticity firsthand. In 1996, at age 37, Dr. Taylor suffered a massive stroke that wiped out most of the left side of her brain, the side responsible for language, analysis, and linear thinking. She couldn't walk, talk, read, write, or recall any of her life. But instead of accepting permanent disability, Dr. Taylor embarked on an 8-year journey of recovery, methodically rebuilding her brain one skill at a time. She had to relearn everything: how to tie her shoes, how to read, how to understand language. And remarkably, she not only recovered but reported experiencing a profound sense of peace and well-being that she had never felt before her stroke. Dr. Taylor's experience illustrates a crucial principle: neuroplasticity isn't just about recovery from injury. It's about the constant, ongoing process of your brain adapting to whatever you repeatedly think, feel, and do. Your brain is literally sculpted by your experiences, and you have far more control over this sculpting process than most people realize. Here's how it works at the cellular level. Every time you have a thought, feel an emotion, or perform an action, specific neural pathways light up in your brain. These pathways are made up of neurons connected by synapses, and each time a pathway is used, the connections between neurons become stronger and more efficient. Imagine your brain as a vast forest with millions of potential paths. Some paths are well-worn highways. These are your habitual thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Others are overgrown trails that haven't been used in years. Every time you walk down a path, you make it a little clearer, a little easier to travel. Every time you ignore a path, it becomes a little more overgrown. This is the neurobiological basis of the saying, neurons that fire together, wire together, coined by Canadian psychologist Donald Hebb. When neurons activate simultaneously, the synaptic connections between them strengthen. Over time, these strengthened connections make it more likely that the same pattern of neural activity will occur again. This process happens through several mechanisms. Synaptic plasticity. The strength of connections between neurons can increase or decrease based on how often they're used. Frequently used synapses become stronger and more efficient, while unused synapses weaken and may eventually disappear. Structural plasticity. The physical structure of neurons can change, with dendrites, the branch-like extensions that receive signals, growing new branches or pruning old ones based on usage patterns. Neurogenesis. As Dr. Erickson discovered, the brain can actually grow new neurons, particularly in the hippocampus. This process is enhanced by physical exercise, learning new skills, and certain forms of meditation. Myelination. The brain can increase the fatty white matter that surrounds neural pathways, making signal transmission faster and more efficient along frequently used routes. But here's what makes this discovery so revolutionary for understanding calm. These same principles that allow stroke victims to recover also allow anyone to literally rewire their brain for greater peace, resilience, and well-being. Dr. Sarah Lazar at Massachusetts General Hospital conducted groundbreaking research using MRI scans to study the brains of long-term meditators. She found that people who meditated regularly had thicker prefrontal cortices, associated with attention and sensory processing, and larger insulae, associated with interoceptive awareness, the ability to sense what's happening inside your body. Even more exciting, when Dr. Lazar studied meditation beginners, she found significant changes in brain structure after just 8 weeks of practice. Participants showed increased gray matter density in the hippocampus, associated with learning and memory, decreased gray matter density in the amygdala, associated with fear and stress response, and increased thickness in several regions associated with attention and emotional regulation. Recent 2024 research has expanded on these findings dramatically. A comprehensive systematic review published in November 2024 showed that mindfulness and meditation practices consistently produce measurable changes in brain structure and function, including increased cortical thickness, reduced amygdala reactivity, improved brain connectivity, and balanced neurotransmitter levels. These aren't subtle changes. We're talking about measurable, physical alterations in brain structure that occur relatively quickly and correlate directly with reported improvements in emotional regulation, stress resilience, and overall well-being. Think about what this means. Every moment of calm you cultivate, every breath you take mindfully, every time you choose to respond rather than react, you're literally strengthening the neural pathways associated with peace and weakening the pathways associated with anxiety and stress. Dr. Richie Davidson, one of the world's leading neuroscientists studying meditation, puts it this way: the brain is built to change in response to experience. The question is, what experiences are you choosing to give your brain? This is perhaps the most empowering discovery in the history of neuroscience. Your brain is not fixed. Your patterns of thinking, feeling, and reacting are not permanent. At any moment, at any age, you can begin to rewire your brain for greater calm, resilience, and peace. The neural pathways of anxiety that may have been strengthened over years or decades can be weakened through disuse, while new pathways of calm can be strengthened through practice. It's not magic, it's neuroplasticity. And it's available to everyone. Blank. Chapter 4. The Autonomic Nervous System, your body's hidden controller. Sarah sits in her car in the company parking lot, her hands gripping the steering wheel. Her presentation is in 10 minutes, and her body feels like it's preparing for battle. Her heart is pounding, her palms are sweaty, her breathing is shallow, and her stomach feels like it's full of butterflies doing aerial acrobatics. What Sarah doesn't realize is that she's witnessing one of the most sophisticated control systems in the human body in action, her autonomic nervous system. This hidden network of nerves operates completely outside her conscious awareness, orchestrating everything from her heartbeat to her digestion, from her breathing to her blood pressure. Understanding your autonomic nervous system is crucial to understanding how to cultivate lasting calm, because this system is literally the bridge between your mind and your body, between your thoughts and your physical experience of peace or anxiety. The autonomic nervous system has 3 main branches, each with a distinct role in managing your body's response to different situations. The sympathetic nervous system, your internal fire department. When Sarah's brain perceived the upcoming presentation as a threat, it activated her sympathetic nervous system, essentially sounding the internal fire alarm. This system evolved to handle immediate physical dangers, and it's incredibly effective at mobilizing your body's resources for fight or flight. Within milliseconds of activation, the sympathetic nervous system releases a cascade of stress hormones. Epinephrine, adrenaline, and norepinephrine flood your bloodstream. Cortisol is released from your adrenal glands, and your entire physiology shifts into high gear. Your heart rate increases to pump more blood to your muscles. Your breathing becomes faster and shallower to deliver more oxygen. Blood flow is redirected away from digestion and reproduction toward your major muscle groups. Your pupils dilate to take in more visual information. Your muscles tense, ready for action. Even your liver dumps stored glucose into your bloodstream to provide immediate energy. This is an incredibly sophisticated and effective system if you're facing a physical threat that requires immediate action. The problem is that your sympathetic nervous system can't tell the difference between a presentation and a predator, between a difficult conversation and a dangerous situation. The parasympathetic nervous system, your internal Peace Corps, on the flip side is your parasympathetic nervous system, often called the rest and digest system. This is your body's natural calm state, designed to activate when you're safe and can focus on restoration, repair, and recovery. When your parasympathetic nervous system is active, your heart rate slows and becomes more variable, a sign of cardiovascular health. Your breathing deepens and slows. Blood flow returns to your digestive system, reproductive organs, and immune system. Your muscles relax. Your mind becomes clearer and more focused. This isn't just about feeling good. Parasympathetic activation is essential for physical and mental health. It's during parasympathetic states that your body repairs tissues, consolidates memories, processes emotions, and strengthens your immune system. The vagus nerve, your superhighway to calm. The star player in your parasympathetic nervous system is the vagus nerve, the longest cranial nerve in your body, stretching from your brainstem all the way down to your abdomen. The word vagus comes from Latin meaning wandering, which perfectly describes this nerve's meandering path through your body. Your vagus nerve is like a superhighway of communication between your brain and your body. It carries information in both directions, from your brain to your organs, telling your heart to slow down, your breathing to deepen, and from your organs back to your brain, sending information about your body's current state. Recent research has revealed that the vagus nerve is much more than just a communication pathway. It's actively involved in regulating inflammation, supporting immune function, and even influencing your mood and social behavior. Dr. Stephen Porges, who developed polyvagal theory, discovered that the vagus nerve actually has 2 main branches with different functions. The dorsal vagal complex is an ancient system that responds to extreme threat by essentially shutting down your body, slowing your heart rate and breathing to conserve energy. This is the freeze response that can manifest as dissociation, depression, or feeling emotionally numb. The ventral vagal complex is a more recently evolved system that promotes social connection, calm alertness, and feelings of safety. When this system is active, you feel grounded, present, and capable of connecting with others. Understanding these different states helps explain why traditional advice like, just relax, often doesn't work. If your nervous system is stuck in a sympathetic fight or flight state, or worse, a dorsal vagal shutdown state, simply trying to think your way to calm is like trying to change the channel on your TV by thinking at it really hard. Measuring your nervous system, heart rate variability. One of the most exciting developments in understanding the autonomic nervous system is our ability to measure its activity through heart rate variability, HRV. Your heart doesn't beat like a metronome. There are natural variations in the time between heartbeats, and these variations provide a window into your nervous system function. High heart rate variability indicates a healthy, flexible nervous system that can respond appropriately to different situations. Low heart rate variability suggests a rigid system that may be stuck in either sympathetic activation, chronic stress, or parasympathetic dominance, depression or exhaustion. Athletes have long used HRV monitoring to optimize their training and recovery, but researchers are now discovering that HRV can also be used to track and improve emotional regulation, stress resilience, and overall well-being. The polyvagal ladder, understanding your state. Dr. Porges uses the metaphor of a ladder to describe how your nervous system responds to different levels of safety and threat. At the top of the ladder is ventral vagal activation. You feel safe, connected, curious, and calm. This is your optimal state for learning, creating, and building relationships. In the middle is sympathetic activation. You feel energized, alert, maybe anxious or angry. This can be productive in short bursts but becomes problematic when chronic. At the bottom is dorsal vagal activation. You feel disconnected, numb, hopeless, or checked out. This is your nervous system's way of protecting you from overwhelming threat or pain. The key insight from polyvagal theory is that you can't simply think your way from the bottom or middle of the ladder to the top. You need to work with your nervous system, using specific techniques that signal safety to your body and gradually help you climb back up to a state of calm, connected awareness. This is why understanding your autonomic nervous system is so crucial for developing lasting calm. It's not enough to change your thoughts or practice relaxation techniques, though these can be helpful. You need to literally retrain your nervous system to spend more time in states of safety and connection, and less time in states of threat and protection. The good news is that your nervous system is incredibly trainable. Just like a muscle that gets stronger with exercise, your parasympathetic nervous system becomes more robust and accessible with practice. In the coming chapters, we'll explore specific, scientifically proven techniques for strengthening your capacity for calm and rewiring your nervous system for lasting peace. Chapter 5. The Stress Response System. When your body becomes your enemy. Meet Jennifer, a 29-year-old marketing manager who describes her daily experience this way. I wake up feeling like I'm already behind. My heart starts racing before my feet hit the floor. I drink coffee to wake up, but it makes me more jittery. I snap at my husband over nothing. I sit in traffic feeling my shoulders creep up toward my ears. By the time I get to work, I feel like I've already run a marathon, and the day hasn't even started. Jennifer is experiencing what happens when your stress response system, designed to handle occasional, short-term threats, becomes chronically activated. It's like having a smoke detector that never turns off, flooding your system with alarm signals even when there's no fire. To understand how to create lasting calm, we need to deeply understand how your stress response system works, why it gets stuck on, and how chronic activation literally changes your brain and body in ways that make calm feel increasingly impossible to achieve. The HPA axis, your body's stress command center. Your stress response system centers around what scientists call the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Think of it as your body's emergency response command center, with three main players working in perfect coordination. The hypothalamus acts like a smoke detector, constantly scanning for threats and deciding when to sound the alarm. When it perceives danger, or what it interprets as danger, it releases corticotropin-releasing hormone, CRH. The pituitary gland receives this chemical message and responds by releasing adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH, into your bloodstream, essentially telling your body's stress factories to start production. Your adrenal glands, sitting on top of your kidneys like little caps, receive this signal and begin pumping out stress hormones: cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine, and noradrenaline, norepinephrine. This system evolved to handle what researchers call acute stressors, immediate, short-term threats that require rapid mobilization of your body's resources. Picture our ancestors encountering a predator. The stress response would activate, providing the energy and focus needed to fight or flee, and then, once the danger passed, the system would return to baseline. Cortisol, the double-edged sword. Cortisol often gets a bad reputation, but it's actually a crucial hormone when functioning properly. In healthy amounts and patterns, cortisol helps regulate your sleep-wake cycle, maintains blood pressure, reduces inflammation, and provides energy when you need it most. The problem arises with chronic elevation. Dr. Robert Sapolsky, a leading stress researcher at Stanford University, explains that cortisol is like a credit card for your body, incredibly useful in emergencies, but devastating when you max it out and can't pay it back. When cortisol levels remain elevated for weeks, months, or years, it begins to damage the very systems it was designed to protect. Brain changes. Chronic cortisol exposure literally shrinks your hippocampus, crucial for memory and learning, and enlarges your amygdala, your fear center. It also impairs the prefrontal cortex, making it harder to think clearly, make decisions, and regulate emotions. Immune suppression. While short-term cortisol release can boost immunity, chronic elevation suppresses your immune system, making you more susceptible to infections, slower to heal from injuries, and more prone to inflammatory conditions. Metabolic disruption. Chronic cortisol promotes fat storage, particularly around your midsection, increases insulin resistance, and can lead to diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Sleep disruption. Cortisol should naturally peak in the morning to help you wake up and gradually decline throughout the day. Chronic stress disrupts this rhythm, leading to insomnia, fragmented sleep, and feeling tired but wired. Digestive issues. Stress diverts blood flow away from your digestive system, leading to problems like irritable bowel syndrome, acid reflux, and poor nutrient absorption. The stress sensitization effect. Perhaps most troubling is what researchers call stress sensitization, the way chronic stress actually makes your stress response system more reactive over time. It's like having a car alarm that becomes increasingly sensitive, eventually going off if someone just looks at it wrong. Dr. Bruce McEwen at Rockefeller University discovered that repeated stress exposure creates what he calls allostatic load, the wear and tear on your body from constantly trying to adapt to stress. Over time, this load literally changes the set point of your stress response system. Jennifer's experience is a perfect example. After months of chronic work stress, her system became so sensitized that even minor irritations, a slow internet connection, a long line at the coffee shop, traffic, would trigger the same intense physiological response that should be reserved for genuine emergencies. The inflammation connection. Recent research has revealed another crucial piece of the chronic stress puzzle: inflammation. When your stress response system is chronically activated, it doesn't just affect hormones and neurotransmitters, it also activates your immune system in ways that promote systemic inflammation. Dr. Steve Cole at UCLA has pioneered research into what he calls the conserved transcriptional response to adversity, CTRA, a pattern of gene expression that occurs during chronic stress. This pattern suppresses antiviral immunity while promoting inflammatory responses, essentially preparing your body for physical injury even when none occurs. This chronic inflammatory state has been linked to depression, anxiety, cardiovascular disease, autoimmune conditions, and even accelerated aging. It's as if your body is constantly preparing for a battle that never comes, depleting resources and creating damage in the process. The rumination loop. One of the most insidious aspects of chronic stress is how it creates what researchers call the rumination loop. When your stress response system is activated, your brain becomes hypervigilant, constantly scanning for threats and problems to solve. This hypervigilance often manifests as repetitive, worrying thoughts, replaying past mistakes, anticipating future problems, analyzing every conversation for hidden meanings. These thought patterns, in turn, keep your stress response system activated, creating a vicious cycle. Dr. Susan Nolan Hoeksema's research at Yale showed that people who tend to ruminate, repetitively focusing on problems, symptoms, or negative emotions, have longer and more severe episodes of depression and anxiety, impaired problem-solving abilities, and increased risk of developing chronic mental health conditions. The cruel irony is that the more stressed and overwhelmed you feel, the more your brain tries to think its way out of the problem, which often makes the stress worse. It's like being stuck in quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. Learned helplessness and the shutdown response. When chronic stress becomes overwhelming, sometimes the system shifts from hyperactivation to what appears to be the opposite, shutdown. This is what psychologist Martin Seligman first identified as learned helplessness, a state where, after repeated exposure to uncontrollable stressors, an organism stops trying to escape even when escape becomes possible. In humans, this might manifest as depression, emotional numbness, chronic fatigue, or what some people describe as being stuck. It's not laziness or weakness, it's your nervous system's attempt to conserve energy and protect you from further harm when fight or flight responses have proven ineffective. Dr. Stephen Porges explains this through polyvagal theory as dorsal vagal activation, an ancient survival strategy where the body essentially plays dead to survive extreme threat. While this response can be life-saving in genuine emergencies, when it becomes chronic, it can feel like living in a fog of disconnection and despair. The good news: your system can heal. The picture I've painted might seem overwhelming, but here's the crucial point. Every single one of these changes is reversible. Your stress response system's remarkable ability to adapt to chronic threat is matched by its ability to heal and restore when given the right conditions. The same neuroplasticity that allows chronic stress to reshape your brain also allows healing practices to rebuild and strengthen the neural pathways of calm. The same HPA axis that can become chronically activated can learn to return to healthy patterns of activation and recovery. Research by Dr. Alyssa Eppel at UCSF has shown that stress management interventions can literally slow cellular aging, as measured by telomere length. Studies of meditation practitioners show normalized cortisol patterns, reduced inflammation markers, and restored immune function. The key is understanding that healing from chronic stress isn't just about removing stressors, though that can help when possible. It's about actively retraining your nervous system to respond differently to the stressors that remain. In the next chapter, we'll explore the fascinating world of neurotransmitters and discover how the chemical messengers in your brain create the experience of calm, and how you can naturally optimize these systems for lasting peace and well-being. Chapter 6. The Chemistry of Calm, Neurotransmitters and Your Inner Pharmacy. Imagine your brain as a vast city with billions of residents, neurons, who need to communicate with each other to keep everything running smoothly. But here's the fascinating part. These neurons don't actually touch each other. Instead, they communicate across tiny gaps called synapses using chemical messengers called neurotransmitters. These neurotransmitters are like the city's postal service, carrying specific messages that determine whether you feel calm or anxious, focused or scattered, happy or sad. Understanding this chemical communication system is crucial for developing lasting calm, because your brain is literally a pharmacy, capable of producing its own natural chemicals for peace, well-being, and resilience. Let me tell you about David, a 42-year-old teacher who struggled with what he called Sunday scaries, an overwhelming sense of dread that would begin every Sunday afternoon as he anticipated the upcoming work week. He'd tried therapy, time management, even changing jobs, but the feeling persisted. It wasn't until he understood his brain's neurotransmitter systems that he was able to find lasting relief. GABA, your brain's natural Valium. GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, is your brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter. Essentially, it's the calm down signal. When GABA is released, It tells neurons to slow down their activity, creating a sense of relaxation and reducing anxiety. Think of GABA as your brain's natural brakes. Just as your car needs both an accelerator and brakes to function safely, your brain needs both excitatory neurotransmitters, which increase neural activity, and inhibitory ones like GABA, which decrease activity. People with anxiety disorders often have either insufficient GABA production or reduced sensitivity to GABA signals. This is why medications like Xanax and Valium work. They enhance GABA activity, creating an artificial sense of calm. But your brain can also learn to produce and use GABA more effectively naturally. Research has shown that meditation, yoga, and deep breathing exercises can increase GABA levels in the brain. A study by Dr. Chris Streeter at Boston University found that people who practiced yoga showed a 27% increase in GABA levels compared to those who read for the same amount of time. But here's what's really interesting. GABA can't cross the blood-brain barrier, which means you can't simply take a GABA supplement and expect to feel calmer. Instead, you need to support your brain's natural GABA production through lifestyle practices and by consuming GABA precursors. Serotonin, the confidence chemical. Serotonin is often called the happiness chemical, but it's more accurate to think of it as the confidence and contentment chemical. When serotonin levels are optimal, you feel emotionally stable, socially confident, and generally satisfied with life. About 90% of your body's serotonin is actually produced in your gut, not your brain, which explains the strong connection between digestive health and mood. This gut-brain connection means that what you eat directly affects how you feel. Low serotonin levels are associated with depression, anxiety, obsessive thinking, and difficulty sleeping. When David learned about serotonin, he realized his Sunday scaries might be related to his habit of eating poorly over the weekend, disrupting his gut health and consequently his serotonin production. Your brain makes serotonin from the amino acid tryptophan, found in foods like turkey, eggs, cheese, and salmon. But here's the catch. Tryptophan has to compete with other amino acids to cross the blood-brain barrier. This is where the traditional advice about eating turkey making you sleepy becomes more nuanced. To optimize serotonin production, you need to eat tryptophan-rich foods along with complex carbohydrates, which help tryptophan win the competition to enter your brain. This is one reason why comfort foods, like turkey and mashed potatoes, can temporarily improve mood. They're naturally supporting serotonin production. Dopamine, the motivation molecule. Dopamine is often misunderstood as the pleasure chemical, but it's more accurately described as the motivation and reward-seeking chemical. Dopamine doesn't create pleasure. It creates the drive to seek experiences that might bring pleasure. When your dopamine system is functioning well, you feel motivated, focused, and optimistic about the future. You can set goals and feel energized to pursue them. You experience a sense of satisfaction when you accomplish tasks. But modern life can seriously disrupt healthy dopamine function. Social media, video games, junk food, and other sources of instant gratification can create what researchers call dopamine dysregulation, a state where your brain becomes tolerant to natural rewards and constantly craves more stimulation. This is why David found himself mindlessly scrolling through his phone on Sunday afternoons, seeking the quick dopamine hits that social media provides, but never feeling satisfied. His brain had become accustomed to artificial stimulation, making it harder to find motivation and pleasure in everyday activities. The key to healthy dopamine function is what researchers call dopamine fasting, not avoiding all pleasurable activities, but reducing artificial sources of stimulation and rediscovering satisfaction in natural rewards like completing tasks, physical exercise, social connection, and creative pursuits. Acetylcholine, the focus enhancer. Acetylcholine is your brain's primary neurotransmitter for attention and focus. When acetylcholine levels are optimal, you can concentrate deeply, learn effectively, and maintain mental clarity even under pressure. This neurotransmitter is particularly important for what neuroscientists call top-down attention, your ability to consciously direct your focus where you want it to go, rather than being pulled around by every distraction. People with ADHD often have disrupted acetylcholine systems, which is why stimulant medications, which increase acetylcholine activity, can be so effective for improving focus and attention. But you can also support healthy acetylcholine function naturally through foods rich in choline, like eggs and fish, regular exercise, and practices that challenge your attention systems, like meditation or learning new skills. Norepinephrine, the alertness regulator. Norepinephrine, also called noradrenaline, is both a neurotransmitter and a stress hormone. In appropriate amounts, it creates alertness, focus, and motivation. Too little, and you feel sluggish and unmotivated. Too much, and you feel anxious and overwhelmed. The key to healthy norepinephrine function is what researchers call optimal arousal, having just enough activation to feel alert and engaged without crossing the line into anxiety or panic. Cold exposure, exercise, and certain breathing techniques can help regulate norepinephrine levels, improving your ability to feel calm yet alert, what athletes call being in the zone. Endorphins, your natural opioids. Endorphins are your brain's natural painkillers and mood elevators. The word literally means endogenous morphine, morphine produced by your own body. These chemicals create feelings of euphoria, reduce pain perception, and promote overall well-being. Exercise is one of the most reliable ways to increase endorphin production, which explains the phenomenon of runner's high. But laughter, social connection, spicy foods, and even certain types of music can also trigger endorphin release. The neurotransmitter orchestra. Here's the crucial point. These neurotransmitters don't work in isolation. They function more like an orchestra, with each chemical playing its part in creating the overall symphony of your mental and emotional state. For example, optimal calm isn't just about having high GABA levels. You need balanced levels of all neurotransmitters. Enough dopamine to feel motivated but not restless. Sufficient serotonin to feel confident but not complacent. Appropriate norepinephrine to feel alert but not anxious. Adequate acetylcholine to maintain focus without becoming rigid. Regular endorphin release to maintain positive mood and resilience. The neurotransmitter lifestyle connection. Modern research has revealed that your lifestyle choices directly influence neurotransmitter production and function. This means you have far more control over your brain chemistry than previously thought. Sleep. Poor sleep disrupts virtually every neurotransmitter system. During deep sleep, your brain clears metabolic waste, restores neurotransmitter stores, and rebalances various chemical systems. Exercise. Physical activity is like a natural antidepressant, increasing production of serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, and endorphins while also promoting the growth of new brain cells. Diet. What you eat provides the raw materials for neurotransmitter production. Processed foods and sugar can disrupt these systems, while whole foods provide the amino acids, vitamins, and minerals your brain needs. Social connection. Positive social interactions trigger the release of oxytocin, often called the love hormone, which promotes bonding and reduces stress hormones. Sunlight. Exposure to natural light, especially in the morning, helps regulate your circadian rhythm and supports healthy neurotransmitter patterns. The microbiome connection. One of the most exciting recent discoveries is the role of your gut microbiome in neurotransmitter production. The trillions of bacteria in your digestive system don't just help digest food, they also produce neurotransmitters and communicate directly with your brain through the vagus nerve. Certain beneficial bacteria produce GABA, while others produce serotonin precursors. This means that the health of your gut directly affects your mood, anxiety levels, and overall mental well-being. David discovered this connection when he started paying attention to how different foods affected his Sunday anxiety. He noticed that weekends involving alcohol, processed foods, and irregular eating patterns consistently led to worse anxiety, while weekends with consistent, whole food meals left him feeling more balanced. Optimizing your inner pharmacy. The beautiful thing about understanding your brain's neurotransmitter systems is realizing that you're not at the mercy of your chemistry. You can actively influence it through your choices and practices. This doesn't mean you should never need medication or professional help. Some people have genetic variations or medical conditions that require pharmaceutical intervention. But it does mean that everyone can support their brain's natural ability to produce and regulate these crucial chemicals. In the next chapter, we'll explore specific, science-based practices for optimizing your neurotransmitter systems and creating the neurochemical foundation for lasting calm and well-being. __. Chapter 7. The Mindfulness Revolution, Rewiring Through Awareness. In 1979, a molecular biologist named John Kabat-Zinn had an idea that would revolutionize both medicine and our understanding of the mind. Working at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center, he wondered if ancient Buddhist meditation practices could be stripped of their religious context and used to help people suffering from chronic pain, anxiety, and illness. His 8-week program, called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, MBSR, was initially met with skepticism from the medical community. How could simply paying attention to your breath and body sensations help people with serious medical conditions? 4 decades later, mindfulness has become one of the most researched interventions in neuroscience and psychology, with over 12,000 peer-reviewed studies demonstrating its effectiveness for everything from reducing anxiety and depression to improving immune function and slowing cellular aging. But what exactly is mindfulness, and how does it literally rewire your brain for greater calm and resilience? Defining mindfulness. More than just relaxation. Mindfulness is often misunderstood as simply relaxation or stress relief, but it's actually much more precise and powerful. John Kabat-Zinn defines mindfulness as paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. Let's break this down. On purpose, mindfulness is intentional. You're not accidentally becoming aware, you're deliberately choosing to pay attention. In the present moment, rather than getting lost in thoughts about the past or future, you're anchoring your attention in what's happening right now. Non-judgmentally, you're observing your experience without immediately categorizing it as good or bad, right or wrong. You're simply noticing what is. This might sound simple, but it's actually a radical departure from how most of us normally operate. Our default mode is to live largely on autopilot, with our attention scattered across multiple time zones, replaying yesterday's conversations, planning tomorrow's tasks, worrying about next week's challenges. The neuroscience of mindfulness. When researchers began studying the brains of experienced meditators using neuroimaging technology, they discovered something remarkable. Meditation literally changes the physical structure of the brain. Dr. Sarah Lazar at Massachusetts General Hospital was among the first to document these changes. Using MRI scans, she found that long-term meditators had thicker prefrontal cortices, associated with attention and emotional regulation, larger insulae, associated with interoceptive awareness, the ability to sense what's happening in your body, smaller amygdalae, associated with fear and stress responses, increased connectivity between different brain regions. But the most exciting discovery came when Dr. Lazar studied meditation beginners. After just 8 weeks of mindfulness practice, participants showed measurable changes in brain structure, including increased gray matter density in areas associated with learning, memory, and emotional regulation, and decreased gray matter density in the amygdala. The default mode network. Taming the monkey mind. One of the most significant discoveries in mindfulness research involves the default mode network, DMN, the network of brain regions that becomes active when we're not focused on a specific task. Dr. Judson Brewer at Brown University found that experienced meditators show decreased activity in the default mode network, particularly in areas associated with self-referential processing and rumination. This translates to less time spent in anxious, repetitive thinking patterns. Even more interesting, when the DMN does become active in experienced meditators, it shows different patterns of connectivity, suggesting a more balanced and less self-focused form of mind wandering. This explains why people often report that meditation helps them break free from the monkey mind, the constant chatter of worries, judgments, and mental storytelling that can dominate our inner experience. The 4 foundations of mindfulness. Traditional mindfulness practice involves 4 main areas of attention, each offering unique benefits for developing calm and emotional regulation. Mindfulness of body. Kayanapasana. This involves paying attention to physical sensations, your breath, the feeling of your feet on the ground, tension in your shoulders, the temperature of the air on your skin. Body awareness is foundational because it anchors you in the present moment and helps you develop interoceptive awareness, the ability to notice what's happening in your body before emotions become overwhelming. Research shows that people with better interoceptive awareness have better emotional regulation and are less prone to anxiety and panic attacks. This makes sense. If you can notice the early physical signs of stress or anxiety, you can intervene before they escalate. Mindfulness of feelings, Vedananupasana. This doesn't mean emotions, but rather the immediate pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral quality of each experience. When you taste something, is it pleasant or unpleasant? When you hear a sound, how does it register in your immediate experience? This practice helps you develop what researchers call emotional granularity, the ability to make fine distinctions between different emotional states. People with higher emotional granularity have better mental health and more effective emotional regulation. Mindfulness of mind, Chittanupasana. This involves observing your mental states and thought patterns without getting caught up in their content. You might notice when your mind is agitated, calm, focused, or scattered, without needing to change anything. This practice develops what psychologists call metacognition, the ability to think about thinking. When you can observe your thoughts as mental events rather than absolute truths, you become less reactive to their content. Mindfulness of mental objects, Dhammanupasana. This involves observing how your mind creates your experience, noticing thoughts, emotions, and sensations as they arise and pass away, recognizing their impermanent nature. This practice cultivates what Buddhists call insight, the direct understanding that all experiences are temporary and that much of our suffering comes from trying to hold onto pleasant experiences or push away unpleasant ones. The paradox of effort in mindfulness. One of the most counterintuitive aspects of mindfulness practice is that it involves what researchers call effortless effort. You're actively paying attention, but in a relaxed, accepting way rather than a forceful, controlling way. This is why mindfulness is often described as just sitting or just breathing. You're not trying to achieve any particular state or experience. You're simply observing whatever is already happening with curious, friendly attention. This attitude of acceptance is crucial because it prevents what meditation teachers call spiritual materialism, the trap of turning meditation into another achievement-oriented activity where you judge your progress based on how relaxed or peaceful you feel. Informal mindfulness, bringing practice into daily life. While formal meditation practice, sitting quietly for specific periods, is valuable, informal mindfulness, bringing mindful awareness to everyday activities, may be even more transformative for developing lasting calm. You can practice mindfulness while eating, noticing flavors, textures, and the process of chewing and swallowing, walking, feeling your feet contact the ground, the movement of your body through space, listening, really hearing sounds without immediately labeling or judging them, waiting, using moments in line or in traffic as opportunities to return to your breath and body. The beauty of informal mindfulness is that it transforms ordinary moments into opportunities for cultivating presence and calm, rather than treating meditation as something separate from real life. Common misconceptions about mindfulness. Misconception 1. Mindfulness means emptying your mind. Actually, mindfulness involves becoming aware of whatever is happening in your mind, including thoughts. The goal isn't to stop thinking but to change your relationship with your thoughts. Misconception 2. If I'm having thoughts during meditation, I'm doing it wrong. Thoughts are not the enemy of meditation. They're part of the human experience. The practice is noticing when your mind has wandered and gently returning your attention to your chosen focus. Misconception 3. Mindfulness should make me feel calm and peaceful. While mindfulness often leads to greater calm over time, the immediate experience can include whatever emotions or sensations are present. Sometimes becoming mindful means becoming aware of anxiety, sadness, or discomfort that was previously below the surface of awareness. Misconception 4. Mindfulness is just relaxation. While mindfulness can be relaxing, its primary benefit is developing a different way of relating to all experiences, pleasant and unpleasant, calm and agitated. The neurobiology of mindful attention. Recent research has revealed the specific brain mechanisms through which mindfulness creates lasting changes in emotional regulation and stress resilience. Attention networks. Mindfulness strengthens three key attention networks in the brain: the alerting network, maintaining vigilant awareness; the orienting network, directing attention to specific locations or objects; the executive network, resolving conflicts between different inputs. Prefrontal amygdala connectivity. Regular mindfulness practice increases connectivity between the prefrontal cortex, your brain's CEO, and the amygdala, your brain's alarm system. This means your rational mind becomes better at regulating emotional reactions. Insula development. The insula, which processes interoceptive signals from your body, becomes thicker and more active with mindfulness practice. This enhanced body awareness allows you to notice stress signals earlier and respond more skillfully. Neuroplasticity enhancement. Mindfulness practice increases production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that promotes the growth of new neurons and strengthens synaptic connections. In our next chapter, we'll explore how breath, the most fundamental life process, can be consciously used as a powerful tool for regulating your nervous system and cultivating lasting calm. Chapter 8. The Power of Breath, your most accessible tool for calm. Take a moment right now and notice your breathing. Don't change it, just observe it. Is it fast or slow? Deep or shallow? Smooth or irregular? Can you feel the air entering through your nose? The expansion of your chest or belly? If you took that moment to actually observe your breath, you just experienced something remarkable. You consciously connected with the one bodily function that is both completely automatic and completely voluntary. Your breath is happening right now without any effort from you, but you can also consciously control it at any moment. This dual nature makes breath uniquely powerful as a tool for influencing your nervous system and mental state. It's the bridge between your conscious mind and your unconscious physiology, between your voluntary actions and your involuntary responses. The anatomy of breathing. More than just air exchange. Most people think of breathing as simply getting oxygen in and carbon dioxide out, but from a neurological perspective, breathing is much more sophisticated. Every breath you take sends signals throughout your nervous system, influencing everything from your heart rate to your emotional state. Your breathing is controlled by the respiratory control center in your brainstem, which operates automatically to maintain proper blood chemistry. But unlike other automatic functions like digestion or hormone production, breathing can also be consciously directed by your cerebral cortex. This creates what researchers call a bidirectional pathway. Your mental and emotional state affects your breathing patterns, and your breathing patterns affect your mental and emotional state. The breath-nervous system connection. Here's where breath becomes truly fascinating from a neuroscience perspective. Your breathing pattern is one of the fastest ways to influence your autonomic nervous system. When you inhale, your heart rate naturally increases slightly. When you exhale, it decreases. This phenomenon, called respiratory sinus arrhythmia, is a sign of a healthy, flexible nervous system. But the relationship goes deeper. Different breathing patterns send different signals to your brain about whether you're safe or in danger. Stress breathing patterns. Fast, shallow breathing, using only the upper chest; irregular, erratic breathing. Breath holding or gasping, mouth breathing. These patterns signal to your brain that you're in a state of threat or emergency, activating your sympathetic nervous system and stress response. Calm breathing patterns. Slow, deep breathing, using the diaphragm; smooth, regular rhythm. Longer exhales than inhales. Nasal breathing. These patterns signal safety to your nervous system, activating your parasympathetic response and promoting calm. The diaphragm, your internal massage therapist. The diaphragm is a dome-shaped muscle that sits at the base of your lungs, separating your chest cavity from your abdominal cavity. When functioning properly, it's your primary breathing muscle, responsible for about 75% of efficient breathing. But the diaphragm does much more than move air. When it contracts and relaxes with each breath, it creates a gentle massage effect on several crucial structures. The vagus nerve. The diaphragm's movement directly stimulates the vagus nerve, which is your body's primary pathway for activating the parasympathetic nervous system. This is why deep, diaphragmatic breathing is so effective for creating calm. The heart. The diaphragm's rhythm directly influences heart rate variability, HRV, which is a key marker of nervous system health and resilience. Internal organs. Diaphragmatic breathing massages your liver, stomach, and intestines, improving digestion and reducing the physical tension that often accompanies anxiety. The lymphatic system. The pumping action of the diaphragm helps circulate lymphatic fluid, supporting immune function and reducing inflammation. Most people, especially when stressed, breathe primarily with their chest muscles rather than their diaphragm. This chest breathing is less efficient and tends to reinforce stress patterns rather than promoting calm. The 4-7-8 breath. Ancient wisdom meets modern science. One of the most researched breathing techniques is the 4-7-8 breath, popularized by Dr. Andrew Weil but rooted in ancient pranayama, yogic breathing, practices. Here's how it works. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts. Hold your breath for 7 counts. Exhale through your mouth for 8 counts. The magic of this technique lies in its specific ratio and the physiological changes it creates. The extended exhale. The 8-count exhale is twice as long as the inhale, which strongly activates your parasympathetic nervous system. This is because exhalation is associated with the rest and digest response. The breath hold. The 7-count hold allows for better oxygen-carbon dioxide exchange and creates a mild hypoxic, low oxygen state that can trigger relaxation responses. The focused counting. The mental task of counting prevents your mind from wandering to anxious thoughts while you're practicing the technique. Research has shown that just 4 cycles of 4-7-8 breathing can measurably reduce anxiety and improve heart rate variability. With regular practice, people report falling asleep faster, feeling less anxious throughout the day, and having better emotional regulation. Box breathing. The Navy SEAL technique. Box breathing, also called square breathing, is used by Navy SEALs, emergency responders, and athletes to maintain calm under extreme pressure. The technique involves breathing in 4 equal phases. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold, lungs full, for 4 counts. Exhale for 4 counts. Hold, lungs empty, for 4 counts. The beauty of box breathing is its simplicity and balance. The equal timing of all 4 phases creates a steady, rhythmic pattern that promotes both alertness and calm, what researchers call calm alertness, or relaxed focus. Studies with military personnel have shown that box breathing can reduce cortisol levels, improve decision-making under stress, and enhance performance in high-pressure situations. Coherent breathing. Optimizing heart rate variability. Coherent breathing involves breathing at a rate of about 5 to 6 breaths per minute, compared to the average rate of 12 to 20 breaths per minute. This typically translates to: inhale for 5 to 6 seconds. Exhale for 5 to 6 seconds. This specific rhythm has been shown to optimize heart rate variability and create what researchers call physiological coherence, a state where your heart, mind, and emotions are in energetic alignment and cooperation. The Harmath Institute has conducted extensive research on coherent breathing and found that just 5 minutes of practice can improve heart rate variability, reduce stress hormones, increase positive emotions, enhance cognitive performance. The Wim Hof method, controlled stress for resilience. Dutch extreme athlete Wim Hof has popularized a breathing method that combines ancient Tibetan Tumo, inner fire, breathing with modern understanding of physiology. The technique involves: 1. Power breathing. 30 to 40 deep, powerful breaths, fully in, letting the exhale go naturally. 2. Retention. Hold your breath on empty lungs for as long as comfortable. 3. Recovery breath. Take a deep breath and hold for 10 to 15 seconds. 4. Repeat, usually 3 to 4 rounds. This technique creates controlled, temporary stress on your system, which can build resilience and improve your ability to handle actual stressors. Research on the Wim Hof method has shown it can boost immune system function, reduce inflammatory markers, increase stress resilience, improve mood and energy levels, However, this is a more advanced technique that should be practiced safely, never in water or while driving, and may not be appropriate for everyone. Nasal breathing, your built-in air filter. One of the simplest but most important breathing practices is simply breathing through your nose instead of your mouth, both during the day and while sleeping. Your nose is specifically designed for breathing and provides several benefits that mouth breathing doesn't. Filtration, nasal hairs and mucous membranes filter out dust, allergens, and pathogens before they reach your lungs. Humidification, your nose warms and moistens incoming air, making it easier for your lungs to process. Nitric oxide production, breathing through your nose increases production of nitric oxide, which has antibacterial properties and helps improve oxygen uptake. Nervous system regulation, nasal breathing naturally promotes parasympathetic activation, while mouth breathing tends to activate the sympathetic nervous system. Better sleep, nasal breathing during sleep improves sleep quality, reduces snoring, and prevents the dry mouth and throat irritation associated with mouth breathing. If you're a habitual mouth breather, transitioning to nasal breathing might take some practice, but the benefits for calm and overall health are substantial. Breath awareness in daily life. While specific breathing techniques can be powerful tools, perhaps the most transformative practice is simply developing awareness of your natural breathing patterns throughout the day. Most people are completely unconscious of their breathing most of the time, which means they miss important information about their current state and opportunities to self-regulate. Try this experiment over the next few days. Set a timer to go off every hour during your waking hours. When it rings, simply notice, how are you breathing right now? Fast or slow? Deep or shallow? Are you breathing through your nose or mouth? Is there any tension or holding in your breath? How does your current breathing pattern match your current emotional state? This simple awareness practice can be remarkably revealing and is often the first step toward naturally shifting into more calm-promoting breathing patterns. The breath as teacher. One of the most profound insights from working with breath is recognizing it as a teacher about the nature of life itself. Every breath demonstrates the fundamental principles of impermanence, acceptance, and letting go. You can't hold onto a breath. You must let go to take the next one. You can't force breath to be different than it is in this moment. You can only work with what's actually happening. And every breath is a new beginning, a fresh start, regardless of what the previous breath was like. These same principles, impermanence, acceptance, and letting go, are foundational to developing lasting calm and resilience in life. In our next chapter, we'll explore how physical movement and exercise create powerful changes in brain chemistry and structure that support emotional regulation and stress resilience. Blank, _, blank. Chapter 9. Movement as Medicine, Exercise and the Neuroplastic Brain. Dr. John Ratey calls it, Miracle Grow for the Brain. Dr. Wendy Suzuki describes it as, the most transformative thing you can do for your brain today. What are these leading neuroscientists talking about? Exercise, specifically, how physical movement literally reshapes your brain in ways that promote calm, resilience, and emotional well-being. If exercise were a drug, it would be hailed as the greatest medical breakthrough of the 21st century. No pharmaceutical intervention comes close to matching exercise's ability to simultaneously improve mood, reduce anxiety, enhance cognitive function, and promote neuroplasticity. Yet for many people struggling with stress and anxiety, exercise feels like just another item on their overwhelming to-do list, rather than the powerful medicine it actually is. The evolutionary perspective, born to move. To understand why exercise is so powerful for creating calm, we need to understand the evolutionary context of human physiology. For over 99% of human history, physical activity wasn't optional, it was essential for survival. Our ancestors had to walk, run, climb, lift, and carry to find food, escape predators, build shelter, and care for their families. Their brains evolved in bodies that were constantly moving, and the neurochemical systems that regulate mood, stress, and cognitive function developed in this context of regular physical activity. Dr. Daniel Lieberman, an evolutionary biologist at Harvard, points out that many of the health problems plaguing modern humans, including anxiety, depression, and chronic stress are mismatched diseases that arise when our ancient physiology meets modern, sedentary environments. Your brain expects your body to move regularly, and when it doesn't receive those movement signals, various systems begin to dysfunction. It's like trying to run sophisticated software on outdated hardware. Things start to glitch. Exercise and neuroplasticity, growing new brain cells. One of the most revolutionary discoveries in neuroscience has been the finding that exercise stimulates the growth of new brain cells, neurogenesis, and strengthens connections between existing neurons. Dr. Fred Gage at the Salk Institute was among the first to demonstrate that voluntary running increases neurogenesis in the hippocampus, the brain region crucial for learning, memory, and emotional regulation. Animals that had access to running wheels grew significantly more new neurons than sedentary animals. But the effects go far beyond just growing new cells. Exercise increases production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which Dr. Rady describes as miracle grow for the brain. BDNF acts like fertilizer for neurons, helping them grow larger, make more connections, and become more resilient to stress and damage. People who exercise regularly have higher levels of BDNF, better cognitive function, improved mood, and greater resistance to neurodegenerative diseases. In fact, exercise is so effective at increasing BDNF that some researchers consider it a natural antidepressant. The neurochemistry of movement. When you exercise, your brain releases a cocktail of neurochemicals that naturally promote calm, well-being, and resilience. Endorphins. These natural opioids create feelings of euphoria and well-being while reducing pain perception. The famous runner's high is largely due to endorphin release, but you don't need to run marathons. Even moderate exercise can trigger endorphin production. Serotonin. Exercise increases serotonin synthesis and sensitivity, improving mood, confidence, and emotional stability. This is why exercise is often as effective as antidepressant medication for treating mild to moderate depression. Dopamine. Physical activity increases dopamine production and receptor sensitivity, improving motivation, focus, and the ability to experience pleasure from everyday activities. GABA. Exercise increases GABA production and function, naturally reducing anxiety and promoting calm. This effect can last for hours after exercise ends. Norepinephrine. While norepinephrine is often associated with stress, exercise helps optimize its levels and your brain's sensitivity to it, improving focus and emotional resilience without creating anxiety. This neurochemical symphony explains why people often report that their thinking becomes clearer, their mood improves, and their anxiety decreases after exercise. They're literally experiencing a natural high from their brain's own pharmacy. The stress inoculation effect. Exercise provides what researchers call stress inoculation, controlled, temporary stress that builds your capacity to handle life's inevitable stressors more effectively. When you exercise, you're creating a controlled stress response. Your heart rate increases, stress hormones are released, and your body mobilizes energy resources. But unlike chronic life stress, exercise stress has a clear beginning, middle, and end. Your body learns to activate stress systems when needed and then return to baseline when the stressor is removed. This trains your nervous system to become more flexible and resilient. People who exercise regularly show better stress recovery, lower baseline cortisol levels, and less reactivity to daily stressors. Dr. Matthew Stultz-Kolemainen at Yale has found that people who exercise regularly experience fewer negative emotions in response to daily hassles and recover more quickly when they do experience stress. Different types of exercise, different benefits. Not all exercise affects the brain in the same way. Different types of movement create different neurological adaptations. Aerobic exercise, cardio, activities like walking, running, cycling, and swimming that get your heart rate up for sustained periods are particularly effective for increasing BDNF and neurogenesis, improving mood and reducing anxiety, enhancing cognitive function and memory, reducing inflammation. The sweet spot for neuroplasticity benefits appears to be moderate intensity aerobic exercise for 30 to 45 minutes, 4 to 5 times per week. You should be able to have a conversation while exercising, but it should feel like work. Resistance training, strength training, lifting weights, bodyweight exercises, and resistance band work provide unique benefits, increasing confidence and self-efficacy. Improving body awareness and proprioception, building resilience through progressive overload, enhancing cognitive function, particularly executive control. Research shows that resistance training can be as effective as aerobic exercise for reducing symptoms of depression and anxiety, with some studies suggesting it may be particularly beneficial for improving self-esteem and body image. High-intensity interval training, HIIT, short bursts of intense activity followed by recovery periods create powerful adaptations, rapid improvements in cardiovascular fitness. Efficient neurochemical changes in short time periods. Enhanced stress resilience and recovery. Improved cognitive flexibility. HIIT can be particularly appealing for busy people because significant benefits can be achieved in 15 to 20-minute sessions. Mind-body exercises. Activities like yoga, tai chi, and qigong combine physical movement with mindfulness and breath awareness, directly activating the parasympathetic nervous system. Improving interoceptive awareness, awareness of internal bodily signals, combining the benefits of exercise with meditation. Particularly effective for anxiety and stress-related conditions. The minimum effective dose. One of the most encouraging findings in exercise research is that you don't need to become a fitness fanatic to experience significant brain benefits. Even small amounts of movement can create meaningful changes. A 2018 study published in the journal Depression and Anxiety found that just 15 minutes of running or 1 hour of walking per day was associated with a 26% decreased risk of major depression. Other research has shown that a single 20-minute walk can improve mood for up to 12 hours. 3 10-minute walks spread throughout the day can be as effective as one 30-minute session. Even 2 minutes of movement every hour can help regulate stress hormones and improve focus. The key is consistency over intensity. Regular, moderate exercise provides more sustained benefits than occasional intense workouts. Exercise and sleep. The virtuous cycle. Exercise and sleep create a mutually reinforcing cycle that's crucial for managing stress and anxiety. Regular physical activity helps you fall asleep faster, increases deep sleep duration, improves sleep quality and consistency, reduces sleep disruptions. Better sleep, in turn, makes you more likely to have the energy and motivation to exercise, creating a positive feedback loop. However, timing matters. Intense exercise within 3 to 4 hours of bedtime can be stimulating and interfere with sleep. Morning or afternoon exercise is generally best for promoting good sleep. Movement for anxiety. Specific strategies. For people dealing with anxiety, exercise can be particularly therapeutic, but it requires some specific considerations. Start small. If you're dealing with anxiety, the thought of intense exercise might feel overwhelming. Start with gentle activities like walking, stretching, or yoga and gradually build up intensity and duration. Focus on enjoyment. The best exercise for anxiety is the one you'll actually do consistently. Find activities you genuinely enjoy rather than forcing yourself through exercise you hate. Use exercise as exposure therapy. If you experience anxiety about physical sensations, rapid heart rate, sweating, breathing changes, gentle exercise can help you become more comfortable with these sensations in a controlled, safe context. Combine with mindfulness. Paying attention to your body during exercise, noticing your breath, the feeling of your muscles working, your feet contacting the ground, can enhance both the physical and mental benefits. The social connection factor. Exercise becomes even more powerful when combined with social connection. Group fitness classes, walking with friends, team sports, or workout buddies provide the additional neurochemical benefits of social bonding. When you exercise with others, your brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, along with all the other exercise-induced neurochemicals. This combination is particularly powerful for reducing stress and building resilience. Research has shown that people who exercise with others are more likely to stick with their exercise routine and report greater improvements in mood and well-being compared to those who exercise alone. Nature and exercise. The green exercise effect. Exercising outdoors, particularly in natural settings, provides additional benefits beyond indoor exercise. Researchers call this green exercise, and studies have shown it can reduce cortisol levels more than indoor exercise, improve mood and self-esteem more effectively, reduce rumination and negative thought patterns, provide vitamin D from sun exposure, offer the stress-reducing benefits of nature connection. Even something as simple as walking in a park can provide more mental health benefits than walking on a treadmill indoors. Overcoming exercise barriers. Many people know that exercise is good for them but struggle to maintain a consistent routine. Common barriers include: I don't have time. Remember that even 10 to 15 minutes of movement can provide significant benefits. You can break exercise into small chunks throughout the day. Take the stairs, park farther away, do bodyweight exercises during TV commercials. I'm too out of shape. Start where you are, not where you think you should be. Even if you can only walk for 5 minutes without getting winded, that's your starting point. Every session builds your capacity. I don't enjoy exercise. Reframe exercise as movement, and explore different activities until you find something you genuinely enjoy. Dancing, gardening, playing with kids or pets, hiking, all count as beneficial movement. I'm too anxious to go to a gym. Home workouts, outdoor activities, or quiet times at gyms can help you build confidence. YouTube has thousands of free workout videos you can do in private. Exercise as a keystone habit. Charles Duhigg, in his book, The Power of Habit, describes exercise as a keystone habit, a behavior that tends to trigger positive changes in other areas of life. When people start exercising regularly, they often naturally begin eating healthier foods, sleeping better, managing stress more effectively, feeling more confident and capable, making other positive lifestyle changes. This ripple effect means that establishing a consistent movement practice can be the single most impactful change you make for your overall well-being. The long-term brain protection. While the immediate mood and anxiety benefits of exercise are compelling, the long-term brain protection effects are equally important. Regular exercise throughout life reduces risk of dementia and Alzheimer's disease, maintains cognitive function as you age, protects against age-related brain shrinkage, preserves memory and learning ability, reduces risk of depression and anxiety disorders. Think of exercise as an investment in your future mental health. Every workout is like making a deposit in your neurological retirement account. Creating your movement practice. Based on the research, here's a framework for creating a brain-optimizing movement practice. Foundation. Aim for at least 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity per week. About 30 minutes, 5 days a week. Plus 2 to 3 resistance training sessions. Flexibility. If you can't do 30 continuous minutes, break it into smaller chunks. 3 10-minute walks can be as effective as 1 30-minute walk. Variety. Include different types of movement to maximize benefits, some cardio, some strength training, some flexibility work, some mind-body practices. Enjoyment. Choose activities you genuinely enjoy or can learn to enjoy. Sustainability is more important than intensity. Social. When possible, include some social movement. Walk with a friend, join a class, play a sport. Nature. Try to get some of your exercise outdoors in natural settings when weather and safety permit. Consistency. Regular, moderate exercise provides more benefits than sporadic intense sessions. Remember, the best exercise program is the one you'll actually follow consistently. Start small, be patient with yourself, and focus on building the habit rather than achieving perfect performance. In our next chapter, we'll explore how sleep, often overlooked in discussions of mental health, is actually one of the most crucial factors in maintaining emotional balance and stress resilience. Chapter 10. The Healing Power of Sleep, Restoring Your Brain Nightly. At 2:47 a.m., Lisa lies in bed staring at the ceiling, her mind racing through tomorrow's presentation, next week's deadlines, and last month's awkward conversation with her boss. Her body is exhausted, but her brain seems determined to solve every problem in her life right now. In the dark, when she can do absolutely nothing about any of them. Sound familiar? Lisa is experiencing what sleep researchers call sleep-related anxiety, a vicious cycle where stress disrupts sleep, and poor sleep increases stress sensitivity, making it even harder to sleep the next night. What Lisa doesn't realize is that her brain desperately needs sleep to function properly, and by lying awake worrying, she's depriving herself of one of the most powerful tools for emotional regulation, stress resilience, and mental clarity. Sleep isn't just rest, it's when your brain performs crucial maintenance that's essential for psychological well-being. The neuroscience of sleep, your brain's nightly restoration. For most of human history, sleep was considered a passive state, a time when the brain simply turned off for 8 hours. We now know that sleep is actually a highly active, carefully orchestrated process that's essential for brain health and emotional regulation. Dr. Matthew Walker, one of the world's leading sleep researchers, describes sleep as the single most effective thing we can do to reset our brain and body health each day. During sleep, your brain undergoes several crucial processes. Memory consolidation. Your brain sorts through the day's experiences, deciding what to keep, what to discard, and how to integrate new information with existing knowledge. This process happens primarily during deep sleep and REM sleep. Emotional processing. REM sleep, in particular, is when your brain processes emotional experiences from the day. Dreams may be your brain's way of working through emotional conflicts and reducing their emotional charge. Toxin clearance. During deep sleep, your brain's glymphatic system becomes highly active, clearing out metabolic waste products that accumulate during waking hours. This includes amyloid beta and tau proteins associated with Alzheimer's disease. Hormone regulation. Sleep is when your body produces and regulates crucial hormones, including growth hormone, cortisol, and melatonin. Poor sleep disrupts these hormonal cycles, affecting everything from stress response to immune function. Synaptic homeostasis. During waking hours, your brain forms new synaptic connections as you learn and experience new things. During sleep, unnecessary connections are pruned while important ones are strengthened. The 4 stages of sleep. Understanding sleep architecture helps explain why both quantity and quality of sleep are crucial for emotional well-being. Stage 1. Light sleep. The transition between waking and sleeping. You're easily awakened and may not even realize you were asleep if woken during this stage. Stage 2. Light sleep. Your heart rate and breathing slow down, body temperature drops, and brainwaves show distinctive sleep spindles and K-complexes. This stage makes up about 45% of total sleep time. Stage 3. Deep sleep, also called slow-wave sleep. This is when the most restorative processes occur. Growth hormone is released, memories are consolidated, and the glymphatic system is most active. Deep sleep is particularly important for feeling refreshed and emotionally stable. REM sleep. Named for the rapid eye movements that occur during this stage, REM sleep is when most vivid dreaming occurs. This stage is crucial for emotional processing, creativity, and certain types of memory consolidation. A healthy night's sleep cycles through these stages multiple times, with deep sleep predominating in the first half of the night and REM sleep becoming more frequent toward morning. Sleep and emotional regulation. One of the most important discoveries in sleep research is how profoundly sleep affects emotional regulation. When you're sleep deprived, several changes occur in your brain that make you more emotionally reactive and less able to cope with stress. Amygdala hyperactivity. Sleep deprivation increases activity in the amygdala by up to 60%. This means your brain's alarm system becomes hypersensitive, reacting strongly to stimuli that wouldn't normally bother you. Prefrontal cortex impairment. The prefrontal cortex, which normally regulates emotional responses, becomes less active when you're sleep deprived. This creates a perfect storm. Your emotional reactions are stronger while your ability to control them is weaker. Disrupted connectivity. Sleep deprivation reduces communication between the prefrontal cortex and amygdala, making it even harder to think rationally when emotions are triggered. Altered neurotransmitter function. Poor sleep disrupts the production and function of mood-regulating neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA. These changes explain why everything feels more overwhelming when you're tired. That criticism from your boss that you might normally brush off becomes devastating. The traffic jam that would usually be a minor annoyance triggers intense frustration. Small problems feel like major crises. Sleep deprivation, the hidden epidemic. The Centers for Disease Control calls insufficient sleep a public health epidemic. More than 1/3 of adults don't get the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night, and the consequences extend far beyond feeling tired. Chronic sleep deprivation is associated with increased risk of anxiety and depression, impaired cognitive function and decision-making, weakened immune system, higher risk of cardiovascular disease and diabetes, weight gain and metabolic dysfunction, accelerated aging and reduced lifespan. Dr. Walker's research has shown that after just one night of poor sleep, 4 to 5 hours, your ability to form new memories is reduced by 40%. After a week of sleeping 6 hours per night, which many people consider normal, your cognitive performance is equivalent to being legally drunk. The vicious cycle of stress and sleep. Stress and sleep problems create a particularly destructive feedback loop. 1. Stress disrupts sleep. When you're stressed, your body produces more cortisol, which interferes with the natural sleep-promoting processes. Your mind races with worries, making it hard to relax into sleep. 2. Poor sleep increases stress sensitivity. When you're sleep-deprived, you're more likely to perceive situations as stressful and less able to cope with actual stressors. 3. Increased stress leads to worse sleep. The more stressed you become, the harder it is to sleep, creating a downward spiral. Breaking this cycle requires addressing both sleep habits and stress management simultaneously. Sleep in modern life, the perfect storm. Several aspects of modern life conspire to disrupt our natural sleep patterns. Artificial light. Exposure to blue light from screens suppresses melatonin production, delaying sleep onset. Our brains evolved to use light and darkness as cues for sleep and wake cycles, but artificial lighting disrupts these natural rhythms. Caffeine. The average half-life of caffeine is 5 to 7 hours, meaning that afternoon coffee can still be affecting your sleep at bedtime. Many people underestimate how long caffeine stays in their system. Irregular schedules, shift work, frequent travel across time zones, and inconsistent sleep schedules disrupt your circadian rhythm, your body's internal clock. Stress and overstimulation. The constant connectivity and information overload of modern life keeps our nervous systems in a state of activation that's incompatible with sleep. Environmental factors. Noise, light pollution, uncomfortable temperatures, and poor air quality can all interfere with sleep quality. Sleep hygiene. Creating optimal conditions. Sleep hygiene refers to the practices and environmental factors that promote consistent, quality sleep. Consistent schedule. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. This helps regulate your circadian rhythm. Cool, dark, quiet environment. Your bedroom should be 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, as dark as possible, and protected from noise. Consider blackout curtains, eye masks, earplugs, or white noise machines. Comfortable sleep surface. Your mattress and pillows should be comfortable and supportive. If you wake up with aches and pains, it might be time for new bedding. No screens before bed. Avoid phones, tablets, computers, and TV for at least an hour before bedtime. If you must use devices, consider blue light blocking glasses or screen filters. Limit caffeine and alcohol. Avoid caffeine after 2 p.m. and limit alcohol, especially close to bedtime. While alcohol might make you feel drowsy initially, it disrupts sleep quality later in the night. Create a wind-down routine. Develop a consistent pre-sleep routine that signals to your body it's time to rest. This might include reading, gentle stretching, meditation, or listening to calming music. The power of napping, strategic rest. While nighttime sleep is most important, strategic napping can also support emotional regulation and cognitive function. Power naps, 10 to 20 minutes. Short naps can boost alertness and mood without causing grogginess. These naps primarily involve light sleep stages. Recovery naps, 90 minutes, Longer naps that include a complete sleep cycle can help recover from sleep debt, but they should be taken early in the day to avoid interfering with nighttime sleep. Napping guidelines. Nap between 1 to 3 p.m. when possible. Keep naps short, 20 minutes or less, unless you can commit to a full 90-minute cycle. Avoid napping after 4 p.m. as it can interfere with nighttime sleep. Create a comfortable, dark, quiet environment for napping. Addressing common sleep problems. Racing mind. If your thoughts keep you awake, try the worry time technique. Set aside 15 minutes earlier in the day to write down your worries and potential solutions. When they arise at bedtime, remind yourself you've already allocated time to address them. Physical tension. Progressive muscle relaxation, gentle stretching, or a warm bath before bed can help release physical tension that interferes with sleep. Sleep anxiety. If you lie awake worrying about not sleeping, get out of bed and do a quiet, non-stimulating activity until you feel sleepy again. This prevents your bed from becoming associated with anxiety. Early morning awakening. If you wake up too early and can't get back to sleep, resist the urge to check your phone or start your day. Practice relaxation techniques and try to rest even if you can't sleep. The role of dreams in emotional processing. Dreams, particularly during REM sleep, appear to play a crucial role in emotional regulation and trauma processing. Dr. Rosalind Cartwright's research suggests that dreams help us work through emotional conflicts and reduce their intensity. People who are deprived of REM sleep often experience increased emotional reactivity, difficulty processing traumatic or stressful experiences, more vivid, intense dreams when REM sleep is restored, called REM rebound. This is why getting adequate REM sleep is particularly important during stressful periods or after traumatic experiences. Sleep aids. When to consider them. While natural sleep improvement should be the first approach, sometimes sleep aids can be helpful. Natural options. Melatonin. Start with 0.5 to 3 milligrams, taken 30 to 60 minutes before desired bedtime. Magnesium, particularly magnesium glycinate, valerian root, passion flower, or chamomile tea. L-theanine, an amino acid found in tea, prescription medications, should be used under medical supervision and generally for short-term relief while addressing underlying causes. Important note: sleep medications can be habit-forming and may interfere with natural sleep architecture. They should be used judiciously and in combination with good sleep hygiene practices. The investment in sleep. Prioritizing sleep isn't selfish or lazy, it's one of the most important investments you can make in your mental health, emotional resilience, and overall quality of life. Good sleep improves your ability to handle stress, enhances emotional regulation and stability, boosts cognitive function and decision-making, strengthens your immune system, supports healthy weight management, increases life satisfaction and well-being. Think of sleep as the foundation upon which all other aspects of health and performance are built. Without adequate, quality sleep, even the best stress management techniques, exercise routines, and mindfulness practices will be less effective. In our next chapter, we'll explore how nutrition directly affects your brain chemistry and your capacity for calm, and discover the foods that can support or sabotage your efforts to manage stress and anxiety. __. Chapter 11. Feeding Your Brain, Nutrition for Emotional Balance. Maria sits at her desk at 3 p.m., feeling like she's hit a wall. Her energy has crashed, her mood is irritable, and she's craving something sweet or caffeinated to get through the rest of the day. She doesn't realize that her breakfast of a sugary muffin and large coffee, followed by a lunch of a sandwich and chips, has created a roller coaster of blood sugar spikes and crashes that are directly affecting her brain chemistry and emotional state. What Maria is experiencing is the profound connection between what she eats and how she feels, a connection that's often overlooked in discussions of mental health and stress management. Your brain, despite being only 2% of your body weight, consumes about 20% of your daily calories. It's an energy-hungry organ that's exquisitely sensitive to the quality and timing of the fuel you provide. The foods you eat don't just affect your physical health, they directly influence your mood, anxiety levels, cognitive function, and ability to handle stress. The gut-brain axis, your second brain. One of the most exciting discoveries in recent neuroscience research is the extent of communication between your gut and your brain. Your digestive system contains over 500 million neurons, more than in your spinal cord, leading scientists to call it your second brain. This enteric nervous system communicates with your brain through multiple pathways. The vagus nerve, this major highway of communication, sends signals in both directions between your gut and brain. About 80% of vagal nerve fibers carry information from the gut to the brain, meaning your digestive system is constantly updating your brain about what's happening below. The microbiome, the trillions of bacteria, viruses, and other microorganisms living in your gut produce neurotransmitters, influence inflammation levels, and directly affect your mood and stress response. Hormonal signaling. Your gut produces dozens of hormones that affect appetite, mood, and stress response, including serotonin, about 90% of which is produced in your gut, dopamine, and GABA. Immune system communication. Your gut contains about 70% of your immune system, and the state of your digestive health directly influences inflammation levels throughout your body, including in your brain. This means that every meal you eat is essentially sending chemical messages to your brain that can either support calm and emotional balance or contribute to anxiety and mood instability. Blood sugar and brain function. Your brain runs primarily on glucose, blood sugar, but it needs a steady, consistent supply rather than the dramatic spikes and crashes that characterize the modern Western diet. When you eat refined carbohydrates or sugary foods, your blood sugar spikes rapidly. Your brain gets a temporary boost of energy, which might feel good initially. However, your body responds to this spike by releasing insulin to bring blood sugar back down. Often, this correction overshoots, causing blood sugar to drop below optimal levels. This crash creates what researchers call neuroglycopenia, a state where your brain doesn't have adequate glucose to function optimally. The symptoms include irritability and mood swings, anxiety and feelings of panic, difficulty concentrating, fatigue and brain fog, cravings for more sugar or caffeine. Your brain interprets low blood sugar as a threat, triggering your stress response system and flooding your body with cortisol and adrenaline. This is why you might feel anxious or jittery when you're hungry, and why skipping meals can worsen anxiety symptoms. The inflammatory connection. Chronic inflammation is increasingly recognized as a root cause of many mental health issues, including depression and anxiety. What you eat has a profound impact on inflammation levels throughout your body, including in your brain. Pro-inflammatory foods. Refined sugars and high-fructose corn syrup. Processed and packaged foods. Trans fats and heavily processed oils. Excessive omega-6 fatty acids, common in processed foods. Excessive alcohol. Foods you're allergic or sensitive to. Anti-inflammatory foods. Fatty fish rich in omega-3s, salmon, sardines, mackerel, leafy green vegetables. Berries and other antioxidant-rich fruits. Nuts and seeds, olive oil and avocados, turmeric, ginger, and other anti-inflammatory spices. Dr. Felice Jacka's research has shown that people who eat a Mediterranean-style diet, high in anti-inflammatory foods, have significantly lower rates of depression and anxiety compared to those eating a typical Western diet. Neurotransmitter nutrition. Your brain manufactures neurotransmitters from the food you eat. Understanding this connection allows you to eat in ways that support optimal brain chemistry. Serotonin support. Serotonin is made from the amino acid tryptophan, found in turkey, chicken, and fish. Eggs and dairy products, nuts and seeds, tofu and soy products. But here's the key. Tryptophan needs help crossing the blood-brain barrier. Eating tryptophan-rich foods with complex carbohydrates, like sweet potatoes, quinoa, or oats, helps tryptophan compete successfully with other amino acids to reach your brain. Dopamine support. Dopamine is made from the amino acid tyrosine, found in lean meats and fish. Eggs and dairy products, almonds and avocados, bananas and apples, beets and sesame seeds. GABA support. While you can't directly eat GABA, it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier. You can support your brain's GABA production with fermented foods, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, foods rich in glutamic acid, tomatoes, aged cheeses, mushrooms, magnesium-rich foods, leafy greens, nuts, seeds, dark chocolate, acetylcholine support. This focused neurotransmitter is made from choline, found in eggs, particularly the yolks, fish and seafood, organ meats, cruciferous vegetables, nuts and seeds. The microbiome and mood. Your gut microbiome, the ecosystem of bacteria living in your digestive system, has a profound impact on your mental health. These bacteria produce neurotransmitters directly, influence inflammation levels, affect the permeability of your gut lining, communicate with your brain through the vagus nerve. Microbiome supporting foods, prebiotic foods, food for beneficial bacteria, garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus, bananas, oats, apples. Probiotic foods, containing beneficial bacteria, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso, tempeh. Diverse plant foods. The more variety of plants you eat, the more diverse your microbiome becomes. Research has shown that people with anxiety and depression often have less diverse microbiomes and different bacterial compositions compared to healthy individuals. Caffeine, the double-edged stimulant. Caffeine deserves special attention because it's the world's most widely used psychoactive substance, and its effects on anxiety and stress are complex. Caffeine's effects on the brain blocks adenosine receptors, preventing the brain's natural tiredness signals. Increases dopamine and norepinephrine activity. Can improve focus and alertness in moderate doses. Can trigger anxiety and panic in sensitive individuals or at high doses. Individual sensitivity. Caffeine sensitivity varies dramatically between individuals due to genetic differences in metabolism. Some people can drink coffee late in the day with no sleep disruption, while others experience anxiety from small amounts. Timing and dosage. Caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 7 hours, meaning afternoon consumption can interfere with sleep. Most research suggests 200 to 400 milligrams per day, 1 to 2 cups of coffee, as a safe range for most adults. Consuming caffeine with food can reduce jitters and crashes. Signs you might be consuming too much caffeine: feeling anxious or jittery, sleep problems, digestive issues, dependence, withdrawal headaches when you don't have it, afternoon energy crashes. Alcohol and anxiety, the rebound effect. Many people use alcohol to take the edge off anxiety, but regular alcohol consumption can actually worsen anxiety over time through several mechanisms. Immediate effects. Alcohol initially enhances GABA activity, creating relaxation. It also suppresses glutamate, an excitatory neurotransmitter. Rebound effects. As alcohol is metabolized, GABA activity decreases and glutamate activity increases. This creates a rebound anxiety that can be more intense than the original anxiety. Sleep quality is disrupted, further increasing stress sensitivity. Long-term effects. Regular alcohol use can lead to tolerance, requiring more to achieve the same calming effect. Chronic use can disrupt neurotransmitter balance and increase baseline anxiety levels. Alcohol interferes with REM sleep and overall sleep quality. Hydration and brain function. Even mild dehydration can significantly affect mood, cognitive function, and stress response. Your brain is about 75% water, and it's one of the first organs affected by dehydration. Research has shown that dehydration of just 2% of body weight can cause increased anxiety and irritability, difficulty concentrating, fatigue and low mood, headaches, increased perception of task difficulty. Optimal hydration. Aim for half your body weight in ounces of water per day. So if you weigh 150 pounds, drink about 75 ounces of water. Pay attention to your urine color. Pale yellow indicates good hydration. Increase intake during exercise, hot weather, or times of stress. Consider adding a pinch of sea salt to your water to improve absorption. Meal timing and frequency. When you eat is almost as important as what you eat for maintaining stable mood and energy. Blood sugar stability. Eating regular meals helps maintain steady blood sugar levels. Going too long between meals can trigger stress hormones and worsen anxiety. Very large meals can cause energy crashes as your body diverts resources to digestion. Circadian rhythm support. Eating at consistent times helps regulate your body's internal clock. A protein-rich breakfast can improve mood and energy throughout the day. Eating late at night can disrupt sleep quality. The Mediterranean mind. The Mediterranean diet has been extensively studied for its mental health benefits. This eating pattern emphasizes abundant vegetables and fruits, whole grains and legumes, healthy fats, olive oil, nuts, avocados, moderate amounts of fish and poultry, limited red meat and processed foods, moderate red wine consumption, optional. Multiple studies have shown that people following a Mediterranean-style diet have lower rates of depression and anxiety, better cognitive function, reduced inflammation markers, improved stress resilience. Supplements for brain health. While food should be your primary source of nutrients, certain supplements can support brain health and emotional balance. Omega-3 fatty acids, EPA, DHA, essential for brain structure and function. Anti-inflammatory effects, may reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety. Best sources: fatty fish, algae-based supplements. Magnesium, involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions, supports GABA function and nervous system calm. Many people are deficient due to soil depletion and processed food consumption. Best forms: magnesium glycinate, magnesium threonate. Vitamin D, acts more like a hormone than a vitamin. Deficiency is linked to depression and seasonal mood changes. Difficult to get adequate amounts from food alone. Best to test blood levels and supplement accordingly. B-complex vitamins, essential for neurotransmitter production, particularly important for people under stress. B6, B12, and folate are especially important for mood regulation. Probiotics can improve gut health and may influence mood. Look for strains specifically studied for mental health benefits. Lactobacillus helveticus and Bifidobacterium longum have shown promise. Important note: always consult with a healthcare provider before starting new supplements, especially if you're taking medications. Practical strategies for brain-healthy eating. Start your day right. Include protein in your breakfast to stabilize blood sugar. Consider eggs, Greek yogurt, or a protein smoothie. Add healthy fats like avocado or nuts. Balance your plate. Aim for half your plate to be vegetables. Include a palm-sized portion of protein. Add healthy fats and complex carbohydrates. Snack strategically. Combine protein with fiber-rich carbohydrates. Examples: apple with almond butter, Greek yogurt with berries, hummus with vegetables. Stay consistent. Try to eat at regular times each day. Don't skip meals, especially when stressed. Plan and prepare healthy options in advance. Listen to your body. Notice how different foods affect your mood and energy. Keep a food and mood journal if you're trying to identify patterns. Pay attention to cravings. They might indicate nutritional needs or blood sugar imbalances. The social aspect of eating. Don't underestimate the mental health benefits of sharing meals with others. Eating together strengthens social connections, slows down eating pace, improving digestion, often leads to healthier food choices, can reduce stress and increase feelings of belonging. In our next chapter, we'll explore how social connections themselves are not just pleasant additions to life, but essential nutrients for your brain's health and your capacity for calm and resilience. Chapter 12. The Social Brain, Connection as Medicine. The mind narrates what the nervous system knows. Story follows state. Dr. Stephen Porges. Picture this. You're walking alone through a dark parking garage late at night. Your heart pounds, your muscles tense, and every shadow seems threatening. But then you hear familiar footsteps behind you. It's your best friend catching up. Instantly, your body relaxes. Your breathing slows. The same environment that felt dangerous moments ago now feels safe. What changed? Not the garage, not the lighting, but the presence of connection. This isn't just a psychological shift, it's a profound neurobiological transformation. Your social brain, a complex network of neural circuits evolved over millions of years, just performed one of its most remarkable functions, using human connection to regulate your nervous system. The architecture of connection. Deep within your brain lies what neuroscientists call the social brain network. This isn't a single structure but rather a symphony of interconnected regions that have evolved to detect, process, and respond to social cues with lightning speed. Numerous studies indicate social support is essential for maintaining physical and psychological health. At the heart of this network sits the anterior cingulate cortex, constantly monitoring for signs of social threat or safety. When you feel understood by a friend, this region releases a cascade of calming neurotransmitters. When you feel rejected or isolated, it activates the same pain pathways as physical injury, because, from an evolutionary perspective, social isolation was often a death sentence. Consider Sarah, a corporate executive who came to understand this system after a particularly stressful period. She'd been working 80-hour weeks, barely seeing her family, convinced that success required complete self-reliance. But her body was keeping score. Chronic headaches, insomnia, and a persistent sense of anxiety plagued her days. The turning point came when Sarah's daughter asked her a simple question: "Mom, when was the last time you had coffee with a friend?" Sarah realized she couldn't remember. She'd been running on empty, not just physically, but socially, and her nervous system was paying the price. The polyvagal revolution. Dr. Stephen Porges's groundbreaking polyvagal theory has revolutionized our understanding of how social connection literally rewires our capacity for calm. Your vagus nerve, the longest cranial nerve in your body, doesn't just control your heart rate and digestion. It's constantly scanning your environment for cues of safety or danger, and nothing signals safety quite like genuine human connection. When you're in the presence of someone who makes you feel truly seen and accepted, your ventral vagal complex activates. This is your body's newest evolutionary system, designed to help mammals form bonds and feel safe in groups. Your heart rate variability increases, your immune system strengthens, and your capacity for complex thinking expands. But here's what most people don't realize: this system can be hijacked by modern life. Social media notifications trigger the same neural pathways as face-to-face interaction, but without the nervous system regulation that comes from genuine presence. You might have 1,000 friends online but feel profoundly lonely, because your ancient brain craves something no screen can provide. The neurobiology of loneliness. Loneliness isn't just an emotion, it's a biological alarm system. When your social brain perceives isolation, it triggers a cascade of stress responses designed to motivate you to reconnect with your tribe. But in our modern world, this ancient system often works against us. Chronic loneliness activates your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis just like physical stress. Cortisol floods your system, inflammation increases, and your immune function suppresses. Research shows that chronic loneliness has the same impact on mortality as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Your brain literally treats social isolation as a survival threat, but the inverse is equally powerful. When you feel genuinely connected, your body produces oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Oxytocin doesn't just make you feel good, it actively counteracts stress hormones, reduces inflammation, and promotes neuroplasticity. It's as if your brain has its own pharmacy, and connection is the key that unlocks its healing potential. The microbiology of relationships. Recent research has revealed an astonishing truth. Your relationships don't just affect your mood, they actually change your biology at the cellular level. When you spend time with people who regulate your nervous system, you enter a state called co-regulation. Your heartbeats begin to synchronize, your brainwaves align, and even your microbiomes start to resemble each other. This process happens automatically, below the level of conscious awareness. Simply being in the presence of a calm, grounded person can literally entrain your nervous system toward greater stability. This is why some people feel like human Xanax. Their regulated nervous systems have a contagious quality that spreads calm to others. The practice of intentional connection. Understanding the neurobiology of connection is one thing, deliberately cultivating it is another. In our hyperconnected yet increasingly isolated world, intentional relationship building becomes a crucial skill for nervous system regulation. The most powerful connections share several neurobiological qualities. They involve presence, full attention without distraction. They include attunement, the ability to sense and respond to emotional states. And they offer what researchers call earned security, the experience of being truly known and accepted despite your flaws. Think about the people in your life who have this effect on you. When you're with them, time seems to slow down. Your breathing naturally deepens. Your shoulders relax. These aren't just pleasant social experiences, they're therapeutic interventions for your nervous system. Building your social nervous system. Just as you can train your body for physical fitness, you can train your social brain for deeper connection. This starts with what psychologists call emotional granularity, the ability to distinguish between subtle emotional states in yourself and others. Most people operate with a limited emotional vocabulary: good, bad, stressed, fine. But your social brain is capable of much more sophisticated distinctions. Learning to recognize the difference between anxiety and excitement, between sadness and disappointment, between anger and fear, allows you to communicate with greater precision and connect with greater depth. Practice begins with curiosity rather than judgment. When someone's behavior triggers you, instead of immediately labeling them as difficult or wrong, try asking, what might their nervous system be experiencing right now? This shift from moral judgment to neurobiological curiosity often reveals pathways to connection that were previously invisible. The healing power of witness. One of the most profound gifts we can offer another person is the experience of feeling truly witnessed. This goes beyond listening or even empathizing. It involves holding space for someone's complete experience without trying to fix, change, or improve it. When you witness someone without agenda, you activate their ventral vagal system and create what therapists call a corrective emotional experience. For many people, this might be the first time they've felt safe enough to be completely authentic. The neurobiological impact can be profound and lasting. Sarah discovered this when she finally accepted her friend's invitation for that coffee. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to be completely honest about her struggles. Her friend didn't offer solutions or advice, she simply listened with complete presence. Sarah left that conversation feeling lighter than she had in years, not because anything had changed externally, but because her nervous system had experienced deep regulation through genuine connection. Connection as daily practice. Integrating social regulation into your daily life doesn't require dramatic changes. It begins with what researchers call micro moments of positivity resonance, brief experiences of genuine connection that can happen anywhere, anytime. This might be making eye contact with a cashier and offering a genuine smile. It could be sending a text to a friend expressing specific appreciation. It might be taking 60 seconds to really listen to your partner's answer when you ask how their day was, instead of waiting for your turn to speak. Each of these moments creates a small but measurable shift in your nervous system. Over time, these micro-connections accumulate into a more resilient, regulated baseline state. Your capacity for calm expands not through isolation and self-improvement, but through the ancient human practice of caring for one another. Blank. Chapter 13. The Trauma-Informed Brain, Healing What Holds You Back. Maria sits in her therapist's office, describing a familiar scene. She's in a meeting at work. Her boss asks her a simple question, and suddenly her heart is racing, her palms are sweating, and she can barely form coherent thoughts. "It doesn't make sense," she says. "He wasn't even being critical. But my body acts like I'm in danger." What Maria doesn't yet understand is that her brain is responding not to the present moment, but to an implicit memory stored in neural networks formed during childhood, networks that learn to associate authority figures with threat. Her trauma isn't in the past, it's alive in her nervous system, shaping her present reality in ways she's only beginning to comprehend. The neurobiology of trauma. Trauma isn't what happens to you, it's what happens inside you as a result of what happens to you. When your nervous system encounters an experience that overwhelms your capacity to cope, it creates what neuroscientists call trauma memories. neurobiological imprints that bypass your conscious mind and live in the deeper structures of your brain. Unlike ordinary memories, which are processed by your hippocampus and stored with clear beginning, middle, and end, trauma memories fragment. The emotional content gets stored in your amygdala, the sensory details in your right hemisphere, and the body sensations in your brainstem. These fragments can be triggered independently, creating experiences where your body responds to danger that exists only in your nervous system's memory. This fragmentation serves a crucial evolutionary purpose. If you've survived a tiger attack, your brain doesn't want to waste precious milliseconds consulting your prefrontal cortex the next time you encounter large, moving shapes in your peripheral vision. It wants your body to react first and think later. But in our modern world, this same system can trap us in cycles of reactivity to situations that aren't actually threatening. The window of tolerance. One of the most important concepts in trauma recovery is what psychiatrist Dan Siegel calls the window of tolerance, the zone of optimal arousal where you can think clearly, feel your emotions without being overwhelmed by them, and respond rather than react to challenges. When you're within your window of tolerance, your prefrontal cortex stays online. You can access your full range of cognitive abilities, maintain perspective, and make conscious choices about your responses. But trauma narrows this window, sometimes dramatically. Above your window of tolerance lies hyperarousal, the domain of anxiety, panic, rage, and hypervigilance. Below it lies hypoarousal, the realm of depression, numbness, dissociation, and collapse. People with trauma histories often ping-pong between these states, rarely experiencing the calm alertness that characterizes a regulated nervous system. The body keeps the score. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's groundbreaking research revealed a truth that revolutionized trauma treatment. The body keeps the score of traumatic experiences in ways that the conscious mind often cannot access. Trauma lives not just in your thoughts and emotions, but in your muscles, your organs, your very cells. This is why traditional talk therapy, while valuable, often isn't sufficient for trauma recovery. You can understand your trauma intellectually, you can talk about it extensively, but if the traumatic activation remains stored in your body, you'll continue to experience symptoms. Effective trauma treatment must address the soma, the living, feeling body, not just the psyche. Maria began to understand this when her therapist introduced her to simple body awareness practices. For the first time, she noticed that her shoulders were chronically tensed, her breathing was shallow, and her jaw was clenched almost constantly. These weren't just physical habits, they were her body's way of staying ready for threats that existed primarily in her nervous system's memory. Neuroplasticity and post-traumatic growth. Here's the remarkable news. The same neuroplasticity that allows trauma to reshape your brain also makes recovery possible. Your nervous system's capacity to learn new patterns doesn't disappear after trauma. It simply requires the right conditions to flourish again. EMDR therapy shows that the mind can in fact heal from psychological trauma much as the body recovers from physical trauma. When you create conditions of safety and support, your brain can literally rewire itself, forming new neural pathways that support resilience rather than reactivity. This process, known as post-traumatic growth, doesn't mean forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't matter. Instead, it involves integrating traumatic experiences in ways that expand rather than contract your capacity for life. Many trauma survivors discover strengths, depths, and wisdom they never knew they possessed. The therapeutic relationship as neurobiological medicine. Perhaps the most powerful tool in trauma recovery isn't a technique or intervention, it's the therapeutic relationship itself. When you feel genuinely seen, understood, and accepted by another person, your nervous system begins to learn that intimacy can be safe, that vulnerability doesn't necessarily lead to harm. This process, called earned security, can literally rewire attachment patterns formed in early life. Through repeated experiences of being met with attunement and compassion, your brain begins to update its fundamental assumptions about relationships and safety. The therapeutic relationship provides what attachment researchers call a secure base, a consistent, reliable source of co-regulation that allows your nervous system to gradually expand its window of tolerance. Over time, This internalized sense of security becomes a resource you can access even when you're alone. EMDR and memory reconsolidation. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR, therapy is an evidence-based psychotherapy for post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, with support from more than 30 published randomized controlled trials demonstrating its remarkable effectiveness. EMDR works by activating the same bilateral brain stimulation that occurs naturally during REM sleep, the time when your brain processes and integrates daily experiences. During EMDR sessions, you recall traumatic memories while engaging in bilateral stimulation, usually eye movements, allowing your brain to reprocess these memories in a more integrated way. Through EMDR, the brain can rewire itself, forging new connections and neural pathways. This enables individuals to replace distressing beliefs and emotions associated with the traumatic memory with more adaptive ones. What makes EMDR particularly powerful is that it doesn't require you to relive traumatic experiences in detail. Instead, it allows your brain's natural healing mechanisms to work more effectively, transforming fragmented trauma memories into integrated autobiographical memories that no longer hijack your nervous system. Somatic approaches to trauma. The body-based approaches to trauma recovery recognize that healing must happen at the level where trauma is stored, in your nervous system, your muscles, your very cells. Techniques like somatic experiencing, developed by Dr. Peter Levine, work with your body's natural capacity to discharge trapped survival energy. When animals in the wild escape from predators, they literally shake off the stress. This discharge process allows their nervous systems to return to baseline quickly. But humans often interrupt this natural recovery process through shame, social conditioning, or simply not knowing it exists. Somatic trauma therapy helps you reconnect with your body's innate wisdom, learning to track sensations, notice patterns of activation and settling, and gradually build tolerance for previously overwhelming experiences. This isn't about forcing yourself to feel better, it's about creating conditions where your nervous system can complete interrupted defensive responses and return to a state of natural regulation. Integration and meaning-making. Trauma recovery isn't about erasing the past or pretending difficult experiences didn't happen. Instead, it involves what psychologists call narrative coherence, the ability to construct meaningful stories about your experiences that honor both the pain and the growth. This process of meaning-making engages your prefrontal cortex in ways that can transform even devastating experiences into sources of wisdom and strength. Many trauma survivors describe discovering parts of themselves they never knew existed, depths of compassion, reservoirs of resilience, capacity for joy they thought they'd lost forever. Maria's healing journey illustrates this beautifully. As she learned to recognize and work with her trauma responses, she discovered that her heightened sensitivity, previously a source of overwhelm, could be a superpower in her work as a designer. Her ability to notice subtle environmental cues, honed through years of hypervigilance, translated into an extraordinary capacity for aesthetic sensitivity. Building trauma-informed daily practices. Integrating trauma awareness into daily life involves developing what researchers call embodied mindfulness, the ability to stay present with your immediate experience without being overwhelmed by it. This might involve simple practices like taking 3 conscious breaths before entering stressful situations, or noticing how different environments affect your nervous system activation. The key is building what trauma therapist Deb Dana calls nervous system curiosity, approaching your responses with gentle interest rather than judgment. When you notice yourself becoming activated, instead of trying to force calm, you might ask, what is my nervous system trying to tell me right now? What does it need to feel safe? This shift from self-criticism to self-compassion creates the internal conditions necessary for nervous system regulation. Over time, these small moments of mindful awareness accumulate into a more resilient, responsive relationship with your own experience. Chapter 14. The Neuroscience of Resilience, Building Unshakable Inner Strength. David's story began with what seemed like a perfect storm of adversity. Within 6 months, he lost his job, his marriage ended, and his father was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Friends expected him to crumble under the weight of these simultaneous losses. Instead, something remarkable happened. He seemed to grow stronger, more centered, more deeply connected to what truly mattered. "I don't understand it myself," David told me months later. "On paper, this should have been the worst period of my life. And it was incredibly painful. But somehow, going through it all awakened something in me I didn't know was there. I feel more resilient now than I ever have." David's experience illustrates one of the most fascinating discoveries in modern neuroscience. Resilience isn't a fixed trait you're born with or without. It's a set of learnable skills, backed by specific neural networks that can be strengthened through practice. Your brain is literally designed to not just survive adversity, but to be transformed by it. The neurobiology of resilience. Resilience emerges from the dynamic interaction of multiple brain systems working together. At its core lies what neuroscientists call the resilience network, a collection of neural circuits that includes your prefrontal cortex, anterior cingulate cortex, and key structures in your limbic system. When functioning optimally, this network allows you to maintain perspective during stress, regulate your emotions without suppressing them, find meaning in difficult experiences, and maintain hope even when outcomes are uncertain. A majority of humans faced with severe stress maintain normal physiological and behavioral function, a process referred to as resilience. What's particularly fascinating about resilience research is that it reveals the brain's remarkable capacity for what scientists call stress inoculation. Just as your immune system grows stronger through controlled exposure to pathogens, your resilience networks grow stronger through managed exposure to manageable stress. This doesn't mean seeking out suffering or minimizing real hardship. Instead, it means understanding that your brain is designed to learn and adapt from challenging experiences when you have the right support and recovery conditions. The prefrontal cortex as CEO of resilience. Your prefrontal cortex serves as the executive center of resilience, integrating information from throughout your brain and body to maintain what researchers call cognitive flexibility, the ability to adapt your thinking and behavior as circumstances change. When your prefrontal cortex is well developed and well supported, you can engage what psychologists call reappraisal, the ability to find alternative perspectives on challenging situations without denying their difficulty. This isn't positive thinking or denial. It's the sophisticated cognitive skill of holding multiple perspectives simultaneously. David discovered this capacity during his father's illness. Instead of viewing the diagnosis as purely tragic, his prefrontal cortex helped him reframe it as an opportunity for deeper connection. "I got to tell my dad things I'd been meaning to say for years," he reflected. "We had conversations I'll treasure forever. The cancer was horrible, but it also gave us something precious. The anterior cingulate cortex and emotional regulation. Working closely with your prefrontal cortex, your anterior cingulate cortex, ACC, plays a crucial role in emotional regulation and pain processing. People with strong resilience networks show increased ACC activity when facing stress, allowing them to acknowledge difficult emotions without being overwhelmed by them. This region also contributes to what researchers call distress tolerance, the ability to experience uncomfortable emotions without immediately trying to escape or numb them. This capacity is crucial for resilience because many of life's most meaningful experiences involve temporary discomfort. The ACC helps you distinguish between pain and suffering. Pain is the inevitable result of loss, disappointment, and challenge. Suffering is what happens when you resist or amplify pain through rumination, catastrophizing, or self-blame. Resilient people experience just as much pain as anyone else, but they've learned to suffer less. The role of the insula in embodied awareness. Your insula, a small but mighty brain region tucked deep within your cerebral cortex, serves as the bridge between your body and mind. It processes interoceptive signals, information about your internal bodily state, and plays a crucial role in emotional awareness and empathy. People with well-developed insular function show greater emotional granularity, the ability to distinguish between subtle emotional states. Instead of experiencing stress as an indifferentiated mass of discomfort, they can identify specific components: the tight shoulders of overwhelm, the racing heart of excitement, the heavy chest of grief. This precise emotional awareness allows for more targeted responses. You can't regulate what you can't recognize, and the insula provides the raw material for emotional intelligence. Neuroplasticity and growth mindset. Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset reveals a crucial truth about resilience. Your beliefs about your own capacity for change literally change your brain's capacity for change. When you believe that challenges can strengthen you, your brain is more likely to form new neural connections in response to stress. This isn't wishful thinking, it's measurable neurobiology. Brain scans show that people with growth mindsets show greater neuroplasticity in response to learning challenges. Their brains literally respond differently to setbacks, treating them as information rather than threats. Developing growth mindset involves what Dweck calls the power of yet. Instead of, "I can't handle this," you might think, "I can't handle this yet." This small linguistic shift activates different neural networks, engaging your brain's learning systems rather than its threat detection systems. The neuroscience of post-traumatic growth. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of human resilience is the phenomenon of post-traumatic growth, the experience of becoming stronger, wiser, and more compassionate as a result of working through adversity. This isn't universal, and it certainly doesn't minimize the reality of trauma's impact. But for many people, the deepest challenges become gateways to the most profound growth. Post-traumatic growth involves specific changes in brain structure and function. People who experience growth after trauma show increased connectivity between their prefrontal cortex and limbic system, allowing for better emotional regulation. They also show changes in regions associated with meaning-making and spiritual experience. This growth typically unfolds in 5 domains: appreciation for life, relating to others, awareness of personal strength, spiritual development, and new possibilities. Each of these domains corresponds to specific neural networks that can be strengthened through intentional practice. Building resilience through controlled adversity. One of the most practical applications of resilience research involves what psychologists call controlled adversity, deliberately engaging with manageable challenges that stretch your capacity without overwhelming it. This might involve cold exposure, challenging physical exercise, public speaking, or any activity that activates your stress response systems in a recoverable way. The key is what researchers call the Goldilocks principle, finding challenges that are neither too easy, which doesn't build capacity, nor too hard, which can be re-traumatizing. Just right means pushing your edges while maintaining access to your higher brain functions. Cold water swimming illustrates this beautifully. The initial shock activates your sympathetic nervous system powerfully, but because you know you're safe, you can practice staying present and regulating your response. Over time, this builds general stress tolerance that transfers to other areas of life. The social neuroscience of resilience. Resilience is rarely a solo journey. Positive interactions between neurobiological resilience factors, good immunoregulation, a beneficial gut microbiome composition, and gut barrier and blood-brain barrier integrity all contribute to your capacity to thrive under stress. What's particularly important is the quality of your relationships during challenging times. Research shows that having even one person who truly believes in your capacity to grow through difficulties can dramatically impact your neuroplasticity and resilience development. This doesn't mean needing constant support or encouragement. Sometimes the most resilience-building relationships involve people who hold space for your struggle without trying to fix it, who reflect back your strength when you can't see it yourself, and who remind you that growth often looks like breakdown before it looks like breakthrough. Meaning-making in the default mode network. Your default mode network, DMN, the brain network active when you're not focused on external tasks, plays a crucial role in resilience through its involvement in meaning-making and narrative construction. When functioning well, your DMN helps you integrate challenging experiences into a coherent life story that includes both suffering and growth. People with resilient DMN function show less rumination and more what researchers call adaptive self-reflection. They can think about difficult experiences without getting stuck in cycles of worry or regret. They're able to extract learning and meaning from adversity without bypassing the legitimate pain involved. This capacity for meaning-making doesn't happen automatically. It requires what Viktor Frankl called the space between stimulus and response, the ability to pause between what happens to you and how you respond, creating room for choice even in the most difficult circumstances. Daily practices for building resilience. Integrating resilience building into daily life involves what researchers call stress inoculation training, regularly engaging your resilience networks through small, manageable challenges. This might involve taking cold showers, practicing difficult conversations, or deliberately choosing the longer, more challenging route to accomplish tasks. The key is consistency rather than intensity. Small daily practices that engage your prefrontal cortex, build distress tolerance, and strengthen your sense of agency accumulate into significant increases in your baseline resilience over time. Perhaps most importantly, resilience building involves cultivating what Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron calls unconditional friendliness toward your experience. This doesn't mean liking everything that happens, but rather developing a basic trust in your capacity to work with whatever arises. David's transformation illustrates this beautifully. "I learned that I could feel completely overwhelmed and still be okay," he reflected. "I could grieve deeply and still find moments of joy. I could face uncertainty and still trust in my ability to navigate whatever came next. That's not something I believed about myself before." Blank. Chapter 15. Integration and the Path Forward. Your personalized blueprint for lasting calm. The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. Carl Rogers. Sarah sits in her favorite coffee shop, the same one where she met her friend months ago for that conversation that began her journey toward calm. But everything has changed. The rushing sensation that once dominated her mornings has been replaced by a sense of spacious presence. The chronic tension in her shoulders has melted away. Most remarkably, the constant anxiety that had been her unwelcome companion for years has transformed into something she never expected. A deep, abiding sense of trust in her own capacity to navigate whatever life brings. "I used to think that anxiety was just part of who I was," she reflects. "Now I understand it was information, my nervous system's way of telling me something needed attention. Learning to listen to it instead of fighting it changed everything." Sarah's transformation illustrates the ultimate goal of understanding the neurobiology of calm. Not the elimination of all stress or challenge, but the development of a resilient, responsive nervous system that can dance skillfully with life's inevitable ups and downs. The integration challenge. Throughout this journey, you've learned about the intricate systems that govern your experience of calm and activation. The default mode network that shapes your baseline mental state, the autonomic nervous system that regulates your body's responses, the neuroplasticity that makes change possible, and the social networks that provide co-regulation and healing. But knowledge alone doesn't create transformation. The challenge now is integration, weaving these insights into a coherent, personalized approach that fits your unique neurobiology, life circumstances, and goals. Integration is where many well-intentioned efforts fail. You might understand intellectually that meditation changes your brain, but still struggle to maintain a consistent practice. You might know that sleep affects your emotional regulation, but find yourself scrolling through your phone late at night. You might recognize the importance of social connection, but feel too overwhelmed to reach out to friends. This gap between knowing and doing isn't a failure of willpower. It's a natural result of trying to change established neural patterns without understanding how change actually happens in the brain. The neuroscience of sustainable change. Your brain changes through a process called experience-dependent neuroplasticity, the formation of new neural connections in response to repeated experiences. But here's the crucial insight. Your brain doesn't distinguish between experiences you consciously choose and experiences that happen automatically through habit. This means that lasting change requires what neuroscientist Rick Hanson calls taking in the good, deliberately highlighting and reinforcing positive experiences so they get encoded in your neural networks. Your brain has what researchers call a negativity bias, designed to help you survive by paying more attention to threats than opportunities. But in our modern world, this ancient survival mechanism can keep you trapped in cycles of anxiety and reactivity. Overcoming negativity bias doesn't mean forcing positive thinking or denying legitimate concerns. Instead, it involves consciously savoring moments of calm, connection, and competence so they become part of your brain's baseline expectations rather than temporary exceptions. Creating your personal calm protocol. Every person's path to lasting calm will be unique, shaped by their genetics, personal history, current life circumstances, and individual preferences. But research reveals certain universal principles that can guide the development of your personalized approach. The most effective calm protocols share several characteristics. They address multiple systems simultaneously: body, mind, and social connection. They're sustainable rather than extreme. They include both daily practices and emergency interventions, and they evolve as you grow and change. Think of your calm protocol not as a rigid prescription, but as a living document that reflects your growing understanding of your own nervous system. What works for you in your 20s might need adjustment in your 40s. What serves you during periods of stability might need modification during times of transition. The foundation. Non-negotiable daily practices. Research consistently shows that certain practices provide such reliable benefits for nervous system regulation that they deserve daily attention, regardless of your specific circumstances or preferences. First among these is some form of mindfulness practice. This doesn't necessarily mean formal meditation, though that's certainly one option. Mindfulness simply means paying attention to your present moment experience with curiosity rather than judgment. This might involve 5 minutes of focused breathing, mindful walking, or even mindful dishwashing. The key is consistency and quality of attention rather than duration or specific technique. Second is prioritizing sleep quality. Your brain literally cleans itself while you sleep, clearing out metabolic waste products and consolidating memories. No amount of other interventions can compensate for chronically poor sleep. This means treating your sleep environment, timing, and routine with the same seriousness you'd bring to any other medical intervention. Third is some form of regular physical movement. Your brain evolved in a body that moved regularly, and exercise remains one of the most powerful interventions for neuroplasticity, mood regulation, and stress resilience. This doesn't require intense workouts or expensive gym memberships. Even a daily 20-minute walk can provide significant neurobiological benefits. Fourth is nurturing at least one relationship that provides genuine co-regulation. This means having someone in your life with whom you can be completely authentic, who helps you feel seen and accepted, and whose presence naturally calms your nervous system. The expansion. Personalized enhancement practices. Beyond these foundational practices, your calm protocol can include various enhancement practices tailored to your specific needs and interests. These might include cold exposure for building stress resilience and activating your vagus nerve. This could be as simple as ending your shower with 30 seconds of cold water, or as adventurous as joining a polar plunge group. Breathwork for direct nervous system regulation. Different breathing patterns activate different aspects of your autonomic nervous system, giving you precise tools for shifting your state in real time. Creative expression for processing emotions and building prefrontal cortex function. Whether through writing, music, visual arts, or any other creative medium, artistic expression engages brain networks associated with emotional regulation and meaning-making. Nature immersion for reducing cortisol and activating your parasympathetic nervous system. Research shows that even brief exposure to natural environments can significantly impact stress hormone levels and mood. Learning new skills for promoting neuroplasticity and building confidence. When you challenge your brain with novel experiences, you strengthen your capacity for adaptation and growth. The rescue plan. Emergency interventions. Even with robust daily practices, life will sometimes overwhelm your capacity to cope. Having a clear plan for these moments can prevent temporary stress from becoming chronic patterns of reactivity. Your emergency interventions should be simple, immediately accessible, and previously practiced during calm moments. This might include specific breathing techniques, particular pieces of music that regulate your nervous system, emergency contacts you can reach out to, or physical movements that help discharge activation. The key is identifying these strategies before you need them and practicing them when you're not in crisis. Your prefrontal cortex goes offline during high stress, so you need these interventions to be automatic rather than requiring complex decision-making. Tracking and adjusting. The science of self-optimization. Your nervous system is constantly changing in response to your experiences, environment, and practices. What works perfectly for months might suddenly feel less effective. What seemed impossible initially might become surprisingly accessible. This is why your Calm protocol needs built-in mechanisms for tracking and adjustment. The most effective tracking systems focus on what researchers call process measures rather than just outcome measures. Instead of only tracking whether you feel calm, you might track whether you completed your practices, how quickly you recovered from stress, or how present you felt during daily activities. Your body provides sophisticated feedback about the effectiveness of your practices. Heart rate variability, sleep quality, energy levels throughout the day, and ease of emotional regulation all offer valuable data about how well your current approach is serving your nervous system. But perhaps the most important metric is what neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett calls effective realism, the accuracy with which you can predict and understand your own emotional experiences. As your practices deepen, you should notice increased clarity about what affects your state and confidence in your ability to work skillfully with whatever arises. The spiral path of growth. Transformation rarely follows a linear path. Instead, it tends to unfold in what spiritual teacher Richard Rohr calls a spiral, circling back to familiar challenges but from a higher level of integration and understanding. You might find yourself facing the same triggers that overwhelmed you months ago, but now you notice them sooner, recover more quickly, and extract more learning from the experience. This isn't failure, it's evidence that your capacity is expanding. You're not just avoiding difficult experiences, you're developing the skills to navigate them with greater wisdom and grace. Sarah's journey illustrates this beautifully. I still have stressful days, she explains. But my relationship with stress has completely changed. I used to see it as evidence that something was wrong with me. Now I see it as information about what needs attention. That shift in perspective changed everything. The ripple effect. How your calm transforms others. One of the most remarkable aspects of developing a regulated nervous system is its impact on the people around you. Calm is contagious. When you embody genuine presence and groundedness, you create what researchers call a secure base for others, a source of co-regulation that helps their nervous systems settle as well. This isn't about becoming responsible for everyone else's emotional state or bypassing your own needs to take care of others. Instead, it's about recognizing that your personal healing contributes to collective healing. Every person who learns to regulate their nervous system skillfully makes it slightly easier for everyone else to do the same. This ripple effect extends beyond your immediate relationships. When you're operating from a place of genuine calm rather than forced composure, you contribute to what sociologist Barbara Fredrickson calls positivity resonance, brief moments of shared positive emotion that literally synchronize people's nervous systems and create what she terms micro moments of love. Building your community of practice. While your calm protocol is deeply personal, it doesn't have to be practiced in isolation. In fact, research consistently shows that practices done in community tend to be more sustainable and effective than those done alone. This might involve finding a meditation group, joining a hiking club, participating in breathwork circles, or simply creating informal accountability partnerships with friends who share similar goals. The key is finding people who support your growth without judgment and who understand that the path to lasting calm involves both breakthrough moments and challenging periods. Your community of practice should include people who can mirror back your progress when you can't see it yourself, who can offer encouragement during difficult periods, and who celebrate your victories without making them about themselves. These relationships become part of your nervous system regulation toolkit, providing external resources when your internal resources feel depleted. The paradox of non-attachment. One of the deepest insights that emerges from sustained practice is what Buddhist psychology calls non-attachment, the ability to engage fully with your practices and goals while holding them lightly. This doesn't mean not caring about outcomes, but rather caring deeply while remaining open to unexpected forms of growth and change. Non-attachment to outcomes paradoxically makes lasting change more likely. When you're desperately attached to feeling calm, that very attachment creates the tension that prevents calm from arising naturally. When you can practice your protocols with dedication while remaining curious about whatever emerges, you create the conditions where genuine transformation becomes possible. This might mean discovering that what you thought you wanted, the elimination of all stress, isn't actually what serves you best: a responsive, resilient nervous system that can handle stress skillfully. It might mean finding that your practices lead you in directions you never expected, opening possibilities you couldn't have imagined when you started. Integration practices for daily life. The ultimate test of your calm protocol isn't how peaceful you feel during formal practice sessions, but how skillfully you can navigate the inevitable challenges of daily life. This requires what psychologists call implementation intentions, specific plans for how you'll apply your practices in real-world situations. This might involve identifying your most common stress triggers and developing specific responses for each. If morning traffic typically activates your anxiety, you might plan to use that time for breathwork practice instead of listening to stressful news. If difficult conversations with your partner tend to dysregulate your nervous system, you might agree on signals that indicate when either of you needs a break to regroup. The key is practicing these implementations during calm moments so they become automatic responses rather than effortful choices. Your stressed brain can't access complex decision-making, but it can follow well-established patterns you've created during periods of stability. The long view, sustainable transformation. Perhaps the most important aspect of any lasting change process is maintaining what researchers call temporal perspective, the ability to see your current challenges within the context of longer-term growth and development. Your nervous system has been shaped by decades of experience. Expecting it to transform completely in weeks or months isn't realistic and can lead to the kind of impatience that undermines sustainable change. Instead, adopting what meditation teacher Jon Kabat-Zinn calls patience, allowing natural processes to unfold in their own time, creates the spaciousness where real transformation can occur. This doesn't mean being passive or accepting dysfunction. It means working steadily and consistently while trusting in your brain's natural capacity for growth and adaptation. It means celebrating small victories while maintaining perspective about the journey ahead. It means treating setbacks as information rather than evidence of failure. Your invitation to begin. As we reach the end of this exploration into the neurobiology of calm, you might feel excited about the possibilities ahead, overwhelmed by the amount of information to integrate, or perhaps a mixture of both. All of these responses are perfectly natural and valid. The most important step you can take right now isn't choosing the perfect practice or creating the ideal schedule. It's simply beginning somewhere, anywhere, with the understanding that your first steps don't have to be perfect, they just have to be taken. Your brain is already changing in response to reading this material. Neural pathways associated with hope, possibility, and self-efficacy have been activated. The question now is how you'll nurture and strengthen these new patterns through your choices and actions in the days and weeks ahead. Remember that every expert was once a beginner. Every person you admire for their calm presence started exactly where you are now, with a desire for something different and the willingness to take the first step. Your nervous system has been waiting your entire life for this attention, this care, this commitment to its healing and optimization. The path forward isn't about perfection, it's about practice. It's not about eliminating all stress and challenge from your life. It's about developing the skills to dance skillfully with whatever arises. It's not about fixing what's wrong with you. It's about awakening to the profound wisdom and resilience that have been there all along, waiting for the right conditions to flourish. Your journey toward lasting calm begins now, in this moment, with your next breath. Trust in your capacity to grow, learn, and transform. Trust in your brain's remarkable ability to rewire itself throughout your entire life. Trust in the ancient wisdom of your nervous system, which knows exactly how to heal when given the right support and attention. The neurobiology of calm isn't just a scientific concept, it's your birthright, your natural inheritance as a human being designed for both challenge and peace, activation and rest, growth and healing. Welcome to the beginning of reclaiming what has always been yours. Conclusion: the science of flourishing. As you close this exploration and begin your personal journey toward lasting calm, carry with you this fundamental truth: your nervous system is not fixed. The patterns of anxiety, reactivity, or overwhelm that may have dominated your experience are not permanent features of who you are. They're learned responses that can be unlearned and replaced with more skillful patterns. The science is clear. Your brain remains capable of profound change throughout your entire life. Every moment of practice, every choice toward regulation rather than reactivity, every breath taken with conscious awareness contributes to the rewiring of neural networks that support your deepest well-being. You are not broken and in need of fixing. You are a magnificently complex system designed for both survival and thriving, capable of both facing life's challenges and resting in profound peace. The tools and understanding you've gained through this journey are not just concepts to understand, they're invitations to embody the calm, resilient, awakened human being you've always had the potential to become. Your nervous system has been waiting your entire life for this attention, this understanding, this commitment to its optimization. The journey toward lasting calm begins now, with your next breath, your next choice, your next moment of conscious awareness. Trust the process. Trust your capacity. Trust in the profound intelligence of your own system to heal, grow, and flourish beyond anything you might currently imagine possible. The neurobiology of calm isn't just science, it's the pathway home to yourself.